Chapter 2238. Their eyes met. As Ezekiel stared into her eyes, he felt as if he could see sadness, resentment, hatred, despair, and a pitiful look. What a complicated gaze. Ezekiel looked at Rouge's eyes silently. Why is she like this? Why does she have to have a pitiful look? Just what does she know? Just as Ezekiel was about to ask, Rouge suddenly leapt into his arms with a tearful smile. I won't let you be alone anymore. Ezekiel's eyes were filled with confusion as Rouge's words echoed in his ears. What is she saying? Won't let me be alone anymore. All of a sudden, a future without a future is not the future I want. Why? What did he do wrong? For the human race. I have a clear conscience for everything I've done. We are willing to follow you to the death. Destroy it. Since this universe has already decayed, then destroy it. Fight. Ezekiel's mind suddenly went blank. Some memories that didn't belong to him flashed through his eyes like a movie. He didn't know what these scenes represented at all. He didn't have any impression of them, nor did he have anything to do with them. Yet, it was these strange words that came out of nowhere. Ezekiel couldn't help but tear up. He didn't know why he was crying. He clearly didn't see those people clearly. He was shedding tears. The pain in his chest was unbearable, as if he had lost too many precious things. What he wanted to hold in his hands, however, it was snatched away by someone else and torn to pieces right in front of him. Great deity? Suddenly, a soft voice rang out in Ezekiel's ears. Ezekiel slowly opened his eyes and noticed that he was lying on the bed. The flame rat and Meng Luo sat beside him. Ezekiel looked around. Based on the layout, this should be his equipment shop. Why am I here? Ezekiel looked around in confusion. He was actually still lying on the bed. You don't know? The flame rat exclaimed. You fainted on the ground without saying anything when you logged on yesterday. Nobody knows what happened to you. Did I faint? Ezekiel frowned. Yes, when you first came up, the flame rat said. Where's Rouge and face powder? Ezekiel shouted. Rouge. The flame rat looked confused again. Why are you looking for her? I'll call her on my friend list. She's not in the equipment shop. Ezekiel frowned. Why is she here? The flame rat was confused. Didn't she use the light of recovery to regenerate by Jianro and Hua Jianro's arms and legs? For a moment, the whole room was silent. The flame rat and Meng Luo stared at each other. The Almighty seems to have gone crazy. It can't be. The Almighty must be too tired and dreaming. Then why did you dream of Rouge and face powder? Does the Almighty really like Rouge and face powder? A lot of people are saying that Rouge and face powder have an affair. What do you mean by having an affair? Ezekiel, who was on the bed, clearly heard their conversation. What did they mean? Ezekiel hurriedly ran down from the bed and grabbed their shoulders. Rouge and face powder have never come here, right? Yeah. The flame rat nodded. It's always been us here. Why would Rouge and face powder come? Chicano, Ezekiel shouted. Sire, did a monstrously beautiful woman appear in the shop? She's called Rouge and face powder. Did you let her in? Ezekiel asked. Sire, I didn't let anyone in. Chicano shook his head. You told me not to let anyone in. What? Ezekiel was shocked. Suddenly, Ezekiel sat on the bed and held his head with his hands. What's going on? Rouge and face powder never came here. She fainted right after coming online. That's impossible. Ezekiel saw Rouge and face powder with his own eyes. Chicano said it himself as well. He didn't stop her when she forced her way in. How did Bai Jianro and Hua Jianro's legs and arms grow out? Ezekiel questioned. I came to find you for that, the flame rat said. The flame rat said, when you went offline, Sister Hua and Sister Bai's arms and legs grew out for no reason. Elder Song said that they have sufficient life force in their bodies, and that life force has already completely healed them. Then why didn't they wake up? Elder Song said that it's because they sealed their consciousness and don't want to wake up. The flame rat scratched his head. Actually, he didn't really understand what that meant. How? What's going on with me? Ezekiel covered his mouth and looked at the floor as he muttered in his heart. Great deity, the flame rat was a bit worried. Let me ask you guys something. Ezekiel looked up at the flame rat. Hua Jianro is engaged, right? Yeah, Rogia is engaged. Great deity. How did you know? All of a sudden, Yi Zichen's eyes opened wide, while his pupils contracted. He forcefully covered his mouth, as if he was about to vomit. You guys leave. Let me have some peace. Oh. Meng Luo and the flame rat looked at each other and left the room. After they left, Meng Luo blinked in confusion. What's wrong with the future deity? Why did he have that sort of expression after finding out that Rogia is engaged? I don't know. The flame rat shook his head. Does the future deity like Rogia? Is that why he was so sad after finding out that Rogia is married? No way. Meng Luo was shocked. I'm not sure. The flame rat also shook his head. Yi Zichen's reaction was indeed a bit exaggerated when he found out that Hua Jinro was married. A long silence ensued. It lingered in Yi Zichen's room. Rouge and Hua Jinro never came. Bai Sei and Hua Jinro's arms and legs grew out, and their bodies were filled with life force. Hua Jinro was already engaged. Am I hallucinating, or did the flame rat and the others lose their memories? Yi Zichen sat in the room and muttered. Everything he experienced was so real. He didn't think that everything he experienced was a dream. What's more, if it really was a dream, then how was he going to explain Hua Jinro's engagement? He didn't know about Hua Jinro's engagement. When he found out, Rouge and Rouge told him while arguing with the flame rat. Damn it, it would have been great if they had mentioned the name of the person they were engaged to. That way, it would have been even more convincing. No, Yi Zichen didn't want to think about it anymore. He had to confirm it. As for the way to confirm it, he had to ask the person in question. Chapter 2239. Trash. Accompanied by a loud bang, Mu-Yi was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. He slammed heavily into the wall in the distance, blood spurting out uncontrollably. Mu-Yi, who had been beaten to the point of vomiting blood, gritted his teeth and supported himself with both hands on the ground. He stood up shakily, not daring to reveal the slightest hint of anger in his eyes. He stood in place with his hands clasped. How on earth did you do things? You caused such a big commotion, yet you didn't catch her? In front of him stood an old man with white sideburns. His eyes were as red as fire, filled with killing intent. If anyone else saw this, they would be afraid. Based on the old man's gaze, no one would be surprised even if he killed Mu-Yi. Mu-Yi still lowered his head and said nothing. At this time, another middle-aged man walked out of the mansion with a flattering smile on his face and softly comforted him. Lord Hua, please calm down. Mu-Yi has always done things satisfactorily. Something must have gone wrong this time. How can I not know? Lord Hua frowned. No, Lord Hua knows everything. Of course we all know this. Mu-Yi has followed you for so long. Why don't you give him a chance to explain and let him redeem himself later? The middle-aged man said. Lord Hua's gaze did not soften. He did not attack again. Taking advantage of this time, the middle-aged man hurriedly gave Mu-Yi a look, indicating that he could speak. Lord Hua, village chief. Mu-Yi suppressed the surging blood in his chest, cupped his fists, and answered respectfully. This subordinate's failure this time is all my fault. Who else could it be? Lord Hua frowned. This time you went to the Qing family, you mobilized thousands of people. Such a big battle, but a little girl actually escaped. This subordinate doesn't want to explain his fault. Mu-Yi's eyes darkened, and he still cupped his fists. But this time, I've really succeeded, including the 2 fire users that you've mentioned, my lord. 2 people. Lord Hua frowned. That's right. Nu nodded. A man and a woman have been captured by this subordinate. This subordinate was prepared to come back and present them to you. But who would have thought that the man who was on the verge of death would suddenly attack this subordinate and many other subordinates? This subordinate was no match for him. How did he do it? Tell me in detail. Upon hearing this, Mu-Yi recounted the situation in full detail. Lord Hua narrowed his eyes and carefully pondered Mu-Yi's words. After a long time, Lord Hua nodded at Mu. I won't blame you this time. Thank you for your magnanimity. Mu cupped his fists. But you must remember this failure. I don't want to fail. I hope this will be the last time. Yes, go. Capture Qingyu as soon as possible. Also, I want those 2 fire users as well. Understood. Go. Also, bring a few more people for me. Mu-Yi and the village chief respectfully left the room. Not long after they left, Mu-I cupped his hands towards the village chief. Village chief, thank you for speaking up for me. If it weren't for you, I might have lost my life. Since when did the two of us become so distant? The village chief smiled at him. Don't forget, you were originally following me. Even though you're now working for Master Fire, I still cherish our old friendship. Village chief. Mu-Yi's eyes were filled with gratitude. The village chief gestured for Mu-Yi not to say anything else. He glanced at the room behind him and hurriedly pulled Mu-Yi away. Master Fire has been asking for people more and more frequently. Yes, Mu-Yi nodded. In the past, he only needed one every 10 days. Now, he needs 2 or 3 a day. Occasionally, there are those who can last longer, but they are few and far between. Ever since Mu-Yi and the rest came into contact with Master Fire. Therefore, Lord Fire needed humans to be his hosts. In the beginning, he only needed one person for half a month. Then, the number of people he needed increased. Looks like I have to capture Qingyu from Master Fire as soon as possible. Only then can I alleviate Master Fire's situation. Mu-Yi frowned. Mu-Yi, do you really intend to be the subordinate of this non-human fellow? The village chief suddenly narrowed his eyes and said, no matter what, he is not human, but we are. He is tormenting us humans. Are you really willing to continue working for him? Village chief. Mu-Yi's expression was somewhat displeased. The middle-aged man smiled and patted his shoulder twice. Just pretend I didn't say anything. You wouldn't tell Master Fire what I just said, would you? I wouldn't. Mu-Yi shook his head. But I hope you won't say such things in the future. It's not like you don't know Master Fire's abilities. I understand, the village chief nodded. If there's nothing else, then I'll be taking my leave. Mu-Yi cupped his hands towards the village chief. At that moment, the village chief called out to him. How are you going to deal with the Qing family? I feel like we should bring forward the purge plan as soon as possible. Mu-Yi frowned. Mu-Yi frowned. It was my fault this time, but when the purge plan begins, I will not fail a second time. Mu-Yi clenched his fists. His eyes were filled with resentment. If it wasn't for Yi Zichen's sudden attack, he would have received Master Fire's favor instead of a scolding. All of this had something to do with Yi Zichen. On the day of the purge plan, he would definitely capture Yi Zichen and Bai Sei and hand them over to Master Fire. And Qingyu. This time, he wouldn't be threatened by a little girl who was still wet behind her ears. See, that's how simple your thinking is, said the village chief suddenly. What do you mean? You're going to capture that youth to avenge yourself, aren't you? Naturally. But he's not in our village, said the village chief. He has a territory outside. Even if the purge plan starts, we'll only be doing it for the village. We can't just run all the way to his territory. Mu-Yi nodded inwardly. The village chief was right. Yi Zichen had a territory, and more importantly, he had Han Qing as his subordinate. It would be very troublesome to deal with. Then what should I do? Mu-Yi wasn't good at thinking. He was good at doing things obediently. Whatever the higher-ups told him to do, he would just do it. We can use the villagers, smiled the village chief. Villagers? Didn't the Qing family get exterminated? If we don't deal with it properly, it'll be very troublesome for us, squinted the village chief. But if we use them well, it'll definitely be great news for you. Village chief, please explain, said Mu-Yi. Since you followed me for so many years, I'll give you a few words. Divert the trouble, patted the village chief on the shoulder. Go back and think about it. Chapter 2240. The village chief left the manor with a chuckle. Mu-Yi was left behind, pondering over the village chief's last words. Divert the trouble? The trouble was definitely the Qing family. As for who to divert it to that brat, all of a sudden, Mu-Yi's eyes lit up. He hurriedly bowed towards the village chief's departing figure with eyes filled with gratitude. If he could divert the trouble to that brat, then everything would be fine. The Qing family had a very high reputation in the village. Now that they were suddenly exterminated, there would definitely be many villagers who wanted to avenge them. When that happened, all he had to do was incite them slightly, and the villagers would go and cause trouble for that guy. Even those who remained neutral or had some goodwill towards the intruder would definitely have their impression of the intruder plummet. It would also be easier to carry out the purge plan. The village chief's plan was killing two birds with one stone. It was truly amazing. Little did they know, just as Mui sighed at the village chief's brain, the village chief, who had already left, revealed a look of disdain and pity. I can't even use such a simple-minded person. What a pity! What a pity! With that, the village chief squinted his eyes and took a deep look at the manor behind him. How can I give you my village? Friends list. Rouge and makeup. At that moment, Yizichin had already sent her messages for half an hour, but he still hadn't received a reply, whether it was in the game or in the virtual world. Yizichin left her messages. In the past, not to mention Yizichin taking the initiative to find her, even if Yizichin popped up in the group, she would run over to say a few words. Now that he contacted her, she actually didn't reply. This drastic change made Yizichin even more curious about his dream. Baifeng is online, but I can't contact her. Yizichin frowned. He really wanted to discuss it with Baifeng. She was a sovereign, so she was very knowledgeable. She might have some ideas. But before they parted, Baifeng specifically mentioned that unless she contacted him first, he couldn't send her a message. Even if he bumped into her, he couldn't greet her. Although Yizichin didn't know why, he kept his promise. Yizichin was completely confused since there was no one to discuss it with. Why didn't you ask me? Suddenly, Bailey appeared. Are you not used to using the optical computer? My existence is not only to help you log into the virtual network. I can also help you solve your problems. Yizichin sighed. If it was a normal question, Yizichin would naturally ask him. Even if he didn't know, his search efficiency was very high, and he could help Yizichin filter out useful information. This time, Yizichin had no clue at all. Even if Bailey went to search, he wouldn't know which direction to go. What's wrong with me? Bailey puffed out his chest. I'm a prince after all, so I'm quite knowledgeable. The Master of the Galaxy left me with you because he wanted me to bring you into the universe faster. You're no longer a lone ranger. There's no way out of being a lone wolf in the universe. You have to learn to discuss with others. Yizichin was speechless. Come on, ask me. If I know, I will tell you everything without reservation, Bailey said. Stop pretending. Yizichin raised his hand and smacked Bailey. It's not like you don't know about me. Why do you have to pretend? If you really know, then just say it. F*CK. Don't you humans always lower yourselves when you ask for help? You fake human, Bailey shouted. Yizichin sighed. My mind is in a mess right now. I really don't have the energy to mess around with you. If you really know, then say it. If you don't, then just leave me alone for a while. Fatigue appeared in Yizichin's eyes. He hadn't felt so troubled in a long time. He clearly saw it with his own eyes, but the flame rats actually said that he fainted. Yet the dream was so real. What's more, he knew about Hua Jinro's engagement. Have you ever thought that your time might have been tampered with? Suddenly, Bailey asked. Time? Yizichin frowned. Tampering with time. It wasn't like Yizichin had never encountered such a thing before. In the Milky Way, the time Godhead existed. It was the time Godhead that could change the flow of time. It could freeze, speed up, or go backwards. Both the caster and the caster could clearly feel the change in time. Yizichin had thought of that as well. However, this time, it wasn't similar to the time Godhead at all. It has nothing to do with time. Yizichin waved his hand, then said to Bailey, where did you get your confidence from? You think it's impossible with just the tip of the iceberg that you know about time? Bailey seemed to dislike Yizichin's confidence, so he retorted, time is one of the special elements. Up until now, no one dares to say that they truly understand the mysteries of time. What makes you think that you do? I never said that I understand. Yizichin shook his head. If you don't understand, then how are you so sure that it has nothing to do with time? Bailey frowned as he stood on Yizichin's shoulder. I'll just say it like this. Let's take your current situation as an example. You experienced event A in the same plane of space. After experiencing it, the other party reversed time and made you experience event B. During this time, the other party kept your memories of event A, or rather, your uniqueness allowed you to keep your memories of event A. Is there such a possibility? Hearing that, Yizichin was stunned, then recalled Bailey's words. Time flows normally, then reverses. After the occurrence of event A, the spellcaster would go back in time at a specific time. Everything about event A remains the same, while event B continues. Is that possible? Yi Zichen asked. He didn't know much about time, so he couldn't make a judgment. It's possible. Bei Li's answer was very certain. Then what is she going to do? Yi Zichen frowned. I have a rather shallow understanding of time as well. If she reverses time at a specific location, then the flow of time at other locations will be distorted. The reversal cannot last for too long. After the reversal, she still needs to return to normal time. She just needs to reverse the time of the entire universe. Bailey replied very casually. Bullshit. Yi Zichen couldn't help but shout. You know better than me how vast the universe is to reverse time in the entire universe. Even the supreme beings can't do it, right? Maybe. Bailey didn't deny Yi Zichen's thoughts. The supreme beings can't do it, but what about the elemental spirits? Can the time elemental spirits do it? Chapter 2241. The Time Elemental Fairy. One of the special elemental spirits. The flow of time in the universe was due to the existence of the time element, and the time elemental spirits were the rulers of time in the universe. Elemental spirits were very rare. In the entire first universe, only the Milky Way Lord and Yi Zichen's 5 celestial elemental fairies had been discovered. The time elemental sprite didn't even dare dream of possessing it. If Bailey didn't mention it, Yi Zichen wouldn't even dare to think about it. You mean to say Rouge and Face Powder possess a time elemental spirit? After a long while, Yi Zichen finally suppressed the shock in his heart and looked towards Bei Li in disbelief. The time elemental fairy, such a special existence, was actually obtained by humans? If that was the case, then Rouge and Face Powder would definitely not be an ordinary person in the first universe. However, there was no news of a time elemental fairy appearing in the first universe. That was to say, the rouge and makeup were like Yi Zichen's eyes, intentionally hiding the truth. Actually, Yi Zichen, who also had an elemental spirit, understood this. Elemental spirits were too special, and there were too many people who wanted to obtain them. Even overlords and paragons were among them. If the time elemental sprite was exposed, Rouge and Face Powder had the protection of a peak clan, so it was fine. If not, that would be a disaster for her. For the sake of elemental fairies, it wasn't impossible to kill her, or even her entire tribe. I didn't. It was clearly Bei Li who brought up this point, but he rejected Yi Zichen's conjecture. I'm just giving you a direction. I hope you're not too narrow-minded. In this universe, anything can happen. When thinking about a problem, you have to consider everything. Sometimes, the most impossible reason was the truth of the matter. Of course, if it's an elemental spirit, I think it would need to be an adult at the very least. Hearing that, Yi Zichen nodded as well. Since Bailey mentioned this, Yi Zichen really did need to consider the problem more thoroughly. Is it possible that she's an elemental fairy? It was clear that Bailey was shocked by Yi Zichen's thoughts, since he hadn't even thought about it. You really dare to dream. Didn't you say that we have to think more holistically when considering a problem? Yi Zichen wasn't bickering. He truly felt that it was possible. Why did the elemental spirits in the elemental lands suddenly disappear? Were they all dead? That was a possibility, but Yi Zichen was more willing to believe that they were still alive. Qingyu had mentioned that in the memories of the fire spirit race, there was a fire spirit. The earth fire elemental spirits would leave the elemental lands after reaching adulthood. This also meant that when other elemental spirits entered adulthood, they could also leave the land of elements. Where'd they go after leaving? The entire universe was under the surveillance of a human virtual world group. There was no such special space that could not be detected by humans. Of course, he couldn't be so absolute. Based on probability, there was a higher chance that the elemental spirits lived in the human world. They blended into humans, became humans, and enjoyed human life. This was the only way to prevent humans from discovering it. Take the fire elemental commander and the fire elemental sprite Xiaohua as examples. Outside, Xiaohua was just like a human. There was almost no difference. The fire elemental commander was also living among humans. Since that was the case, it was not impossible that Rouge and Face Powder were elemental spirits. There is such a possibility. I don't deny the possibility of your idea existing. Bailey pondered for a while and said, but this probability is really too small. It's still like what you said just now. Sometimes, the truth is what we think is impossible. Yi Zichen put what he learned into practice. You win. Bell spread his hands. Yi Zichen, on the other hand, frowned deeply. The question of the time elemental fairy lingered in his mind. If Rouge really was an elemental spirit, or possessed a time elemental spirit, then what was the meaning of her words? You don't know anybody. What exactly happened to make him say such a thing? And the images in his mind, what did it represent? Right? I suddenly thought of something. Bell, who was defeated by Yi Zichen's idea, suddenly spoke up. Elemental fairies have a certain level of perception between each other. Just tell your elemental fairy to come out and take a look to see whether or not time was twisted by the time elemental fairy. Are you sure? Yi Zichen was stunned. He wanted to find Xiaohua, but he remembered that he was still in a deep sleep. The other elemental spirits were too small and unreliable. For example, the thunder elemental sprite, Hypocrite. The lightning elemental fairy only knew how to weirdly chuckle with people every day and wouldn't tell anyone what he was thinking. The water elemental fairy was too lazy to even move around every day and wouldn't tell anyone what he was thinking. Lil Feng. After thinking about it, Yi Zichen felt like Lil Feng was a bit better. Even though she was rather shy, at least she was obedient and would do whatever she was told. Emperor Star, you were looking for me? The wind elemental fairy popped out with a bun on her head. She seemed to have grown a lot taller. You're already so tall. Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. Yeah, it's all thanks to the elemental crystals you gave us. We all grew up really quickly, Lil Feng giggled. How could it not be? If it wasn't for Yi Zichen's good luck and his rather capable subordinates, he really would have been squeezed dry by the elemental fairies to death. Yeah, there was also the little phoenix. That guy ate no worse than the elemental fairies. You're almost a teenager as well? Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. More or less, Lil Feng nodded. What did you call me out for? Lil Lei just said that since Brother Fire isn't here, you definitely didn't come looking for me for anything good. Huh, that heartless guy. Lightning elemental crystals were the most expensive. F***, this brat actually said shit like that. Yi Zichen felt like he should consider whether or not he should wean him and let him know who his daddy was. I came looking for you for some business, said Yi Zichen. No worries, just say it, said Lil Feng. Lil Feng was so sensible. He was so much better than the lightning elemental fairy. I want you to help me see if any other elemental fairies have been here. Yi Zichen rubbed his hands nervously. There are. You're talking about the time elemental fairy, right? Lil Feng nodded almost instantly. You just came and greeted us. What's wrong? Did something happen? Chapter 2242. Is this a solid piece of evidence? So fast. Lil Feng's reply completely shocked Yi Zichen. The time elemental spirit had arrived. He even greeted Xiaofeng and the others. When did this happen? About half an hour ago. Xiaofeng pursed his lips. We felt it when he first arrived, and then we communicated with the elemental thoughts. Why didn't you tell me? Asked Yi Zichen. We thought you knew. Little Feng blinked. As soon as that big sister arrived, you were hugging and hugging. Little Dian said she was your lover and told us not to tell Big Sister Su Yin and Big Sister Su Luer when we got back. F***ck me. What the hell was this? These elemental spirits were really Little Lightning. Ha ha ha. The moment he appeared, Little Lightning grinned mischievously. Emperor Star, are you looking for me? Where did you learn all that? Yi Zichen frowned. I just learned it that way. Little Lightning shrugged his shoulders. Don't worry. I will absolutely not tell anyone about this. There is a promise between men. As he spoke, Little Lightning even reached out to fist bump with Yi Zichen. This black-bellied little guy. If Yi Zichen hadn't seen his sneaky smile, he would have fallen for it. The clash of fists just now was proof enough. After that, he used this to threaten me. Get lost. Yi Zichen rolled his eyes at Little Lightning. Little Lightning shrugged sulkily, then burrowed back into Yi Zichen's arm. Before he left, he grinned evilly. Don't talk to this guy so much in the future. He's definitely going to lead you guys astray, said Yi Zichen. When I have time, I'll give him the entire prison. Oh, Xiao Feng probably didn't even know what the prison was for. If she did, with her kind personality, she would definitely intercede for the electric elemental sprite. Emperor Star, if there's nothing else, I'll be heading back. Wait, Yi Zichen stopped him. Is that elemental fairy that big sister? Or not big sister? All right, I understand. The wind elemental sprite returned to his arm. Yi Zichen also learned a few important pieces of information from the wind elemental fairy. Rouge in face powder possessed an elemental spirit. In that case, everything she said was worth paying attention to. Having a time elemental spirit meant that one could control time. It was very likely that she had seen something that should have happened in the future. It was really necessary. He wanted to find time to have a good talk with her and take a peek into the future. Dong, dong, dong. Someone knocked on the door. Yi Zichen stood up and opened the door and saw Chicano standing outside. Chicano, what happened? Sir, the village chief is waiting outside. He said he wants to see you. Chicano replied. Village chief? When mentioning the village chief, there was no prefix in front, so it was naturally the village chief of this village. What is he doing here at this hour? He can't possibly not know that Yi Zichen is the owner of this shop, right? Or rather, he knew about it, but he still paid a visit. In their eyes, the first universe was an invader, and this was the territory of this invader. Interesting. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and smiled, then walked out of the room to the window that allowed him to see the main entrance. A middle-aged man stood at the entrance of the shop. He stood with his hands behind his back. There were no attendants around, and he couldn't sense the presence of anyone lying in ambush from afar. Let him in, Yi Zichen said to Chicano, then directly entered the guest room of the shop. This place was mainly for clients. Some clients would provide some rather expensive equipment that needed to be discussed. These clients would all be invited here. Not long later, Chicano brought the village chief here. Sir, the village chief is here. With that, the middle-aged man reached out his hand warmly and walked towards Yi Zichen. Future sir, I have admired you for a long time. This humble one is Su Hu. Future. Both of them cupped their hands. Chicano stayed by Yi Zichen's side. I wonder, why did village chief Su Hu come to my place? It seems like our relationship isn't that good. Yi Zichen couldn't be bothered to feign civility, so he directly pulled them apart. Ha ha ha. Su Hu laughed. Perhaps he didn't expect Yi Zichen to be so straightforward. Lord Future is truly direct. That's right. There is a huge misunderstanding between you deities and us natives. The relationship between the two sides is like fire and water. Deities? Yi Zichen squinted his eyes. I know that many people think that you are invaders, but I have never thought that way, Su Hu explained. Yi Zichen said in disdain. I don't care if you believe me or not. I'm telling the truth. I came here to ask you something. Please tell me the truth. This is very important, Su Hu said. What is it? Is Qing Hui dead? Su Hu squinted his eyes. The Qing family was destroyed, but we didn't find Qing Hui's corpse. I reckon that you took him away, so I came to ask if he's still alive. Why are you asking this? Yi Zichen looked at Su Hu with a dark gaze. The Qing family is very famous in our village. The destruction of their clan will have a huge impact on the villagers. Muyi asked me for a solution, and I gave him a plan, Su Hu said. What plan? I can only tell you if Qing Hui is dead or alive after you tell me. Su Hu smiled. Future Sir is a straightforward person, so I'm too lazy to beat around the bush. I came here to decide which side I'm on. Side? All of a sudden, Yi Zichen's frown deepened. Wasn't the entire village already under the control of the fire elemental commander? What side was there to talk about? Everything Muyi did was under the orders of the village chief. Before seeing Su Hu, Yi Zichen had suspected that his body might have been taken over by the fire elemental commander. Only now did he confirm that Su Hu was still a human. I understand Future Sir's concerns, Su Hu added. Actually, Mui is one of my people. That was in the past. Ever since that Fire Lord came, he followed Fire Lord. As for me, I'm just a figurehead. Everything Mui does outside is still under my banner, but in fact, it's not my intention. How can I trust you? Yi Zichen squinted his eyes. I can't prove myself. Suhu's reply was still very straightforward. I didn't come here to make you absolutely trust me. Sometimes, trust in person isn't as reliable as seeing what happens in the future. I don't want to know anything else. I just want to know if Qing Hui is dead or alive. Even if the future Lord told me, it wouldn't affect you much, right? That's right. Yi Zichen nodded. Then I'll tell you the truth. He's still alive and very healthy. He'll recover in 3 days. Chapter 2243. Qing Hui couldn't hide it when he was alive. No one could truly make him let go of his hatred after his family was destroyed. He had to appear in everyone's line of sight. Even if he didn't raise his arms and shout, he had to use his own method to give the Qing family's heroic spirits an explanation. Since that's the case, Yi Zichen didn't bother hiding it and told them the truth. Of course, what he said wasn't the entire truth. Qing Hui's injuries were actually about to heal. With the help of makeup and elder song, he would wake up in less than half a day. Healed. Good. Good. Suhu seemed to be even happier than Qingyu when he heard that Qing Hui was healed. He clenched his fist and hit it against his palm. Every muscle in his body trembled in excitement. Future Lord, Qing Hui can definitely be healed in 3 days, right? Suhu confirmed once more. That's right. Yi Zichen nodded. That's great. The village is saved. Suhu looked up at the ceiling with tears glistening in his eyes. Suhu's expression was very strange to Yi Zichen. Yi Zichen naturally understood what he wanted to say. If there were no surprises, the entire village was in the hands of the fire elemental commander, and he, as the village head, had no power. He couldn't calm down when he saw the village being tormented. But did he need to be this happy when he heard that Qing Hui could be healed in 3 days? Future Lord. After a long while, Suhu finally calmed himself down and looked at Yi Zichen. From some of his more subtle movements, Yi Zichen could tell that he was still nervous. His fingers were trembling. If possible, I feel like we can work together. Suhu squinted his eyes. Right now, Qing Hui isn't dead and can still be healed. This has already far surpassed my imagination. If we succeed, I can definitely take back control of the village. When that happens, I can order the villagers to not have any ill intentions towards you. Can a village head, like you, control the thoughts of the villagers? What era was this? Everyone had their own will and thoughts. Even the existence of the fire elemental commander didn't cause the villagers to feel enmity towards the humans of the first universe. What's more, Suhu, could he make all the natives become friendly towards the humans of the first universe just by issuing a decree? Obviously, this was not realistic. Everyone had their own independent thoughts, and the only way to make them completely listen to one's will was to control them mentally. Of course, the result was that everyone was like the Walking Dead. Such humans were no better than livestock. I don't expect them to be friendly to us. It's fine as long as we can compete fairly, said Yi Zichen. I can promise you that. Suhu nodded. From the current situation, Suhu and Yi Zichen shared the same interests. He wanted to deal with the fire elemental commander. Suhu wanted to take back his authority as village chief, while Yi Zichen wanted the fire elemental commander to die. If this guy didn't die, both the little phoenix in the land of elements and Yi Zichen's own safety were in danger. He would definitely plot against Yi Zichen and the others. Rather than nurturing a tiger, it would be better to get rid of him as soon as possible. Suhu's words could not be completely believed. No one knew what he was planning by coming here. Take one step at a time. Counter soldiers with arms and water with earth. All right, then tell me about your plan. Suhu didn't leave the equipment shop until late at night. Before he left, he swore solemnly that Yi Zichen would believe everything he said. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. During this time, Hua Jinro and Bai Sei's conditions had improved markedly. Unfortunately, they still showed no signs of waking up. Qing Hui had already recovered. After recovering, he was deeply grieved over the destruction of the Qing clan. If it weren't for the fact that Xingyu was still alive, Yi Zichen found it hard to imagine what would have happened to him. The equipment shop closed for business. Yi Zichen and the others had already collected all the equipment in their backpacks. Then, they arrived at Yi Zichen's city. If everything Su Hu said was true, then this shop in the middle of the village would become everyone's target. Leave as soon as possible, abandon the shop, and wait for the dust to settle before continuing business. That was the best solution. It was worth mentioning that Yi Zichen's territory was no longer small. Thanks to the tireless efforts of the general and a few soldiers, the city had reached a certain size. It wasn't exactly the size of a village, but it was at least half the size. Yi Zichen decided to rebuild the equipment shop here. He could use the shop's traffic to develop his business. In any case, the land was empty, and it was all his territory. He didn't need to worry about buying land. The flame rats still haven't returned. Yi Zichen sat in the city lord's manor with a deep frown. Today was the day he'd agreed on with Su Hu. In the past few days, the flame rats had acted as scouts and stayed in the village to check on the situation. They haven't. Meng Luo carefully wiped Hua Jinro and Bai Sei's arms. Future great deity, will someone really come to attack us later? I'm not sure. Yi Zichen shook his head. He wasn't too sure about Su Hu's words. He looked into the room. Han Qing, Xi Jingnan, and 2 other domain experts were all there. Qing Hui and Qing Yu were in the room as well. Thanks to Elder Song's miraculous treatment, Qing Hui's injuries had already healed. Chicano and the equipment shop's employees were there as well. The generals and guards of the city. It could be said that Yi Zichen had sent all of his forces here. Regardless of whether or not things would turn out, as Su Hu said, he had to make ample preparations. Prevention is better than cure. Senior Qing Hui, if Mu Yi really brings people to attack, then I need you to stand out, Yi Zichen said. Of course, Qing Hui nodded. As time ticked by, everyone was waiting for the flame rat to send them a message. Late at night, the flame rat requested a video call. Yi Zichen, who had waited for far too long, quickly accepted. Great deity, how is it? The village is starting to move, the flame rat shouted in the video call, then turned the camera away. From the video call, it could be seen that a large number of natives, they hurriedly gathered towards the village square. The image in the video call was not clear, but Yi Zichen estimated that there were more than 3,000 people. Such a large number of natives, with Yi Zichen's less than 100 guards, it wouldn't take long for them to be completely wiped out. Yi Zichen had thought that Mu Yi would only bring a few hundred more people. Who would have thought that he would do something like this? Chapter 2244. Thousands of natives. That was far beyond Yi Zichen's expectations. After a brief moment of shock, Yi Zichen's brows relaxed once more. The problem wasn't that bad. According to what Su Hu had said a few days ago, most of the people who'd come were people the Qing family owed a debt of gratitude and had come to avenge Qing Hui. A small portion were Mu Yi's people, who were fanning the flames. So long as Qing Hui appeared, they'd switch sides, and the 2 of them would stand on his side. Senior Qing Hui, please take a look. Yi Zichen projected the video in front of everyone. When he saw the tidal wave of natives, even Han Qing couldn't help but gasp. He was indeed a star-level expert. But in the face of so many domain-level experts, the most he could do was stay out of trouble. What's more, there were star-level experts on Mu Yi's side as well. Last time, he'd only managed to escape after getting injured. This time, Mu Yi knew Han Qing was there. He'd definitely have other star-level experts follow him. He'd naturally deal with the star-level experts. Based on their current numbers, the natives wouldn't be able to stop them. Qing Hui looked at the video and frowned. Senior, do you recognize all these people? I can't see them clearly. Qing Hui shook his head. It's just too dark. I really can't tell. This. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes. Qing Hui couldn't answer, so it was unknown whether these thousands of natives were friend or foe. Yi Zichen took a deep breath, then turned to the flame rat. Why are there so many people? I don't know either, the flame rat said solemnly. The flame rat's tone was also very solemn. These people came very suddenly, as if they had discussed it beforehand, and suddenly appeared at a specific time. At a specific time, suddenly appeared? Yi Zichen instantly frowned. Have you been keeping an eye on Mu Yi these past few days? Has he used Senior Qing Huey's name? No, the flame rat suddenly said. More people have come. Then, in a video, a large number of natives arrived from all directions. Even in the video, Yi Zichen could sense their murderous intent. All of them held weapons in their hands. They didn't go to the square, but to the exit of the village. I don't know these people, Qing Hui said, looking at the projection. Just now, many people had walked past the invisible flame rat. Qing Hui took a good look at their faces. You don't know him? Do you not know him? Or do you not have any dealings with him? Or have you never seen it before? I've never seen it before. Qing Hui frowned. Future God, someone's here again. The flame rat shouted in the video. Then, he pointed the camera at the other side. These people were all wearing warlock robes. There weren't many of them. There were about 300 of them. They were divided into 5 teams. The north, south, east, and west teams each had 80 people, leaving 10 people in the middle. Formation Master. Han Qing suddenly spoke up. My lord, these people are all array masters. Look at the array stones in their hands. They're preparing to set up an array. Set up a formation? Flame rat, how many people do we have in the village? Yi Zichen shouted with a frown. Quite a lot. The flame rat raised its eyebrows. Don't stay in the village anymore. Hurry up and come out. Yi Zichen shouted. What is it? The flame rat didn't understand. Just come out when I tell you to. What's with all this bullshit? Also, send out a loudspeaker in the game. Tell all the players in the village to leave the village as soon as possible. Yi Zichen frowned, then looked towards Meng Luo. Did you already make the post on the forum? We did. Meng Luo nodded. But no one believes us at all. They all said that I spread rumors and reported me, and even banned my forum account. F***CK. Yi Zichen clenched his fist. Bailey, use my account to post on the forum and spread the news of the Milky Way's novice village purge. With that, Yi Zichen directly clicked Open the Merchant Shop. Ding, future. Warning. Players currently in the village. Please leave the village as soon as possible. Future. Warning. Players currently in the village. Please leave the village as soon as possible. A total of 30 loudspeakers. Yi Zichen believed that regardless of whether they were in a novice village or not, they would be able to receive the message. If he was right, the natives in the village did not come for him. They came for the purge plan. Due to the urgency of the situation, he did not explain things too clearly. Ding, ding, ding. The moment the loudspeaker sounded out, Yi Zichen received several private messages. All of them were asking him what exactly happened. Yi Zichen directly entered the virtual network and replied in the group. Future, hurry up and tell your people to leave. The village is planning a purge. They want to kill everyone in our universe. Steelcase, what? Returning Windblade. Future, great deity, are you serious? This sort of joke isn't funny at all. Jingling, kill them all? Blue Shield Family 0713. Really? Future, will what I say be false? Future, although I'm not too sure, I trust my instincts. Just now, the Flame Rat saw a large number of Formation Masters appear, and the natives all held weapons. Future, I suggest you guys leave. Future, I've interacted with the natives here. They mentioned the purge plan to me. Tianhai, we can't leave. Future, why? Steelcase, the exit of the village has already been sealed. Flame Rat, great deity, I can't leave. Jingling, yeah, we can't leave anymore. Gulu, this is terrible. Future, why can't you guys leave? Don't tell me that you're all in the village. Tianhai, we should all be there. Steelcase, all of our Steelcase clansmen are here. Returning Windblade, our Jiangshan is here as well. Jingling, ditto. Gulu, ditto. Blue Shield Family 0713, ditto. The entire group chat was filled with a heavy atmosphere. Future, log off. Steelcase, I can't log off. I just tried. Tianhai, yeah, me too. The others all replied the same. Yi Zichen glared. Future, why? Why are you all in this village at this time? Why can you log off? Tianhai, this might have something to do with a mission we accepted. Tianhai, everyone accepted too. Steelcase, I've answered it. Our people accepted it. The others in the group all agreed. Yi Zichen's heart tensed up. Future, just what kind of mission is it? It actually can't log off? Tian Hai. Flame Imprint. Chapter 2245. Flame Imprint. A large-scale mission posted on the village's bulletin board half a day ago. The mission was very simple and did not require the player to do anything. Even if it was a simple errand mission, the player still needed to find a specific NPC to talk to. This mission, there was no need to fight monsters, no need to run errands. All the player had to do was to be online at a specific time and receive a generous reward after the mission ended. The reward content: 3 million star coins and a purple grade weapon. Actually, the star coins were still okay, but purple grade equipment had yet to appear. However, the mission this time was to provide a purple grade weapon. The entire village was practically in an uproar. The players passed the mission content to each other, and a large number of players came to the newbie village's bulletin board to accept the mission. If there were no surprises, more than 90% of the players accepted the bulletin board mission. Yi Zichen couldn't help but let out a long sigh when he saw the messages in the group chat. Just what's going on? They're clearly so smart normally. Why did they suddenly become collectively stupid? Future, do you guys really believe it? Future, do you guys think it's possible for a pie to fall from the sky? Ignoring the purple grade weapon, just 3 million star coins. There are tens of millions of players in the newbie village. 3 million per person. How many star coins would that be? Future, do you really think the village's finances can provide it? Future, the Virtual World Corporation already clarified to us that this is the second universe, not the virtual data of a game, so they can send as much as they want. Tian Hai, how could we not know? Steelcase, when I found out about this, I also ordered everyone not to accept the mission easily, but Blue Shield Family 0713. But what? Just say it. Blue Shield Family 0713. To put it bluntly, they are our people, but they didn't listen to us completely. Their greed had led them to this state. Jingling, yes. Returning Windblade. I also said it, but the people below didn't listen. Returning Windblade. The moment the purple grade weapon appeared, everyone acted as if they were injected with the blood of the beast ancestor. All of them wanted to accept it, and couldn't be stopped at all. Gulu. This is a chain reaction. Gulu. It doesn't matter if everyone doesn't accept it. If someone accepts it, then everyone else will feel like they lost out. Also, I don't know who in the universe instilled the idea that danger and opportunity coexist. Sometimes you have to give it your all. Gulu. More importantly, a lot of people feel like it's a loophole. Gulu. At that time, it will be too late to regret. Future. Then why did you guys accept it? You're talking so clearly here, but in the end, you still accepted the mission. Returning Windblade. You're being wronged. Returning Windblade. I didn't accept it. It was someone in our guild who accepted it, so the others automatically accepted it. Tian Hai. I can't cancel it. I can't give up. Gulu. Even if I leave the family, the mission is still accepted. Jingling. Time's up, forcefully summoning back to the village. Still Keck, yes. F***CK. Yi Zichen's eyelids twitched. You can actually do that? Once a member of the guild accepted the quest, the entire guild would passively accept the quest and would be forcefully teleported back to the village at the designated time. Meng Luo. Yi Zichen looked to the side and saw that Meng Luo had already disappeared from Yi Zichen's room. Hua Jianro and Bai Sei were nowhere to be seen. When did they disappear? Just now, Xen Zhongnan said. Hearing that, Yi Zichen let out a deep sigh. There were also people in Nebula who accepted the Flame Imprint mission. Meng Luo, Guru. Meng Luo, Guru, I came to the beginner's village. Meng Luo, Sister Ro and Sister Baiyu are both here. Tian Hai Baiyu. Tian Hai. Meng Luo, is that the White Emperor's only daughter, Baiyu? Returning Windblade. F***CK. Is this for real? Is the White Emperor's woman in our village? Future, alright. Seeing that these people were actually shocked by Baiyu's identity, Yi Zichen really didn't know where they got the time or the mood to do so, just as the blades of the natives were about to chop down on their necks. Future, members of the group, hurry up and gather the members of the guild and family. Gather your forces together and wait for the right time. Tian Hai, no problem. Coordinates, returning Windblade. Coordinates, all the members of the group sent their coordinates. Yi Zichen couldn't help but facepalm as he looked at the screen full of coordinates. Future, go to Meng Luo's coordinates. Future, it's not convenient for her to be there. Tian Hai, got it. Returning Windblade, got it. Still Ket, got it. Seeing that all the members of the group had replied, Yi Zichen let out a deep sigh and sat down on a chair in the city lord's manor. Sire, what should we do? Yi Zichen could feel that the situation seemed to be very bad from his gaze. As Yi Zichen's #1 general, Han Qing asked. Wait. Yi Zichen raised his hand towards the group, then frowned. Bailey, how is it? You people from the first universe are too barbaric. Bailey stood on Yi Zichen's shoulder. All of the posts I sent were insulting comments. They all said that I was trying to scare them, but no one paid any attention to what I said. So it's like that. Yi Zichen let out a long sigh. These people are still reporting me. I've already hacked into the backend network of the forum and blocked all of the reports. However, with the Virtual World Corporation's technology, they'll probably notice it soon. When that happens, all of our posts and accounts will be banned. Bailey clenched his teeth and shouted. He, the prince of the machine race, was actually being insulted. How could he endure that? Future at all members future. Any of you in the first universe know a lord or sovereign level expert. Hurry up and contact them and tell them about your current situation. Future, get the Virtual World Corporation to send out a conscription order. Future, players from the surrounding villages come to help. Tian Hai, I'm already contacting them. Jingling, contacting them. Returning Windblade. Oh my god, just who am I in the same village with? Do you all know a lord or sovereign? Steelcase, they're all major powers. Gulu, I contacted the person in charge. The person in charge told me to provide evidence. Damn it, is he doubting the truth of my words? Blue Shield Family 0713. Our person in charge said the same thing. Flame Rat, I told my dad. He said that he just went to the Virtual World Corporation a few days ago. It's best not to trouble them if possible. It's hard to return a favor. Meng Luo, my dad already went to the Virtual World Corporation. While everyone was nervously contacting the connections they could use, Yi Zichen clenched his fist. Our post was deleted. The forum was banned. Bailey shouted. Yi Zichen felt like his head was about to explode. At that moment, Meng Luo, the mission ended? Jingling, I received the weapon. What's going on? Wasn't it supposed to be a purge? Tian Hai. Future. Chapter 2246. Mission completed. Yi Zichen couldn't help but be stunned when he saw the messages in the Milky Way chat group. Future. Mission completed? Future. Purple tier equipment in my hands? Meng Luo, yeah. Returning Windblade, what? It was a false alarm. Jingling. Wow, a purple tier equipment. So cool. Everyone in the village has one. Gulu, don't be too happy. Gulu, I think there's a problem. Tian Hai. That's right. It's best to be careful. The mission was completed so suddenly. How could it be completed so suddenly? According to the time, Blue Shield Clan 0713, the weapon is indeed in our hands. The members of the group sent their weapons to the group. When Yi Zichen saw the purple glow of the weapons, his brows grew darker and darker. What the hell was he up to? The message sent to Sue, who had not received any response so far. Future, you guys better be careful. This message was sent out, but there was no reply for a long time. At the start, Yi Zichen thought that it was because they had just gotten a purple tier weapon, so he was completely immersed in joy. Soon, he felt that something was wrong. More than 10 minutes had passed. No matter how much they liked each other, it shouldn't be to the extent that no one had the time to send a message. In a group chat, the group was still like a stone that had sunk into the ocean. Yi Zichen quickly clicked open the in-game private message between Meng Luo and the Flame Rat. The message was sent. There was still no reply. Little did they know, Meng Luo, a purple tier weapons attack must be really high. Tian Hai, I think so. It's just that the game's full digitization has disappeared, so I can't see the specific values. Tian Hai, I think it's a purple tier weapon. Tian Hai, it's about the same as a 7th layer domain weapon. Jingling, wow, it's that high? Then we'll be able to level up faster by killing monsters. Blue Shield Clan 0713. Maybe the upper management of the Virtual World Corporation wants to increase our competitiveness with the natives here and specially issued such a mission. Steelcase. Is that even possible? Steelkek. I've asked other friends. None of their villages have this kind of announcement mission. Returning Windblade. Me too. Returning Windblade. It's strange. I was just talking to my friends about the purple tier equipment, and suddenly they stopped replying. Gulu, me too. Gulu. I sent them a message, but they didn't reply. Returning Windblade. Haha. Could it be that they are jealous that we have a purple tier equipment and they don't? Jingling. No one replied to me either. Flame Rat. Speaking of which, where did the future Almighty go? I haven't seen any messages from him since just now. Meng Luo. Yeah, the Almighty hasn't spoken in a long time. Returning Windblade. Even the Almighty is jealous. Stillkirk was speechless. Jingling Gulu. Blue Shield Clan 0713. Return Windblade. You really dare to dream. Do you think it's possible? More than 70% of the weapons, armor, and accessories in the village came from the future god. Would he be jealous over a purple tier equipment? Returning Windblade. Haha, I'm just kidding. Jingling. That's true. But if everyone has purple tier equipment, it will definitely affect God's business in the future. If he really wanted to use a purple tier weapon, he could use a star tier weapon. Gulu, yes. Hearing that, Meng Luo and the Flame Rat both sent Yi Zichen a private message. What's more, Meng Luo said that if Yi Zichen wanted a purple tier equipment, then Yi Zichen wouldn't mind. She could give him her weapon. However, none of these messages received any response. It was as if Yi Zichen had already left the game and the virtual network. Perhaps no one took all of this to heart. After they obtained the weapons, they all sent messages to the people they contacted and didn't bother them. Everyone looked at the purple tier weapon in their hands, happily. Tianhai. Oh no. Suddenly, Tianhai sent a message in the group. After sending the message, he intentionally waited a few minutes before speaking to everyone. He had always felt that this mission was strange. After Yi Zichen mentioned the purge, he became even more suspicious of this mission. Even though he had just completed the mission, the first thing he did after obtaining the purple tier weapon was to give it to his trusted aide instead of using it himself. Then his friends in the virtual network mysteriously disconnected. Returning Windblade's jealousy might be valid with other people, but it definitely wouldn't be valid with Tianhai. What's more, the message he just sent in the group also proved his thoughts. Meng Luo, what is it? Tianhai. Friends, the future might have been right. We were tricked. Tianhai. I advise you guys to throw away your weapons. Tianhai. There's a problem with that weapon. Tianhai. There's also a problem with our virtual network. Returning Windblade. What do you mean? Old brother Tianhai, don't scare us here. We're still young. Jingling. I have the same suspicions as well. Jingling. Tianhai. Is our virtual network blocked? Our messages can't be sent out, and the messages from the outside world can't be sent in. Tianhai. That's right. If you don't believe me, you can send a message in the group. I sent a message in the virtual network group just now, but none of you replied. Before this, I even tried to log into the Virtual World Corporation's official website, but it kept loading, but I couldn't log in at all. The surrounding leaders all turned silent. Approximately 3 minutes later, although no one said anything, from the heavy gazes of both sides, it was clear that they all had their own thoughts. If Tianhai said it alone, it might be a lie. Everyone tried it themselves, but they still couldn't get any results. Then, the problem was serious. You guys aren't purposely playing me, right? Returning Windblade smiled. We're all friends. There's no need to do that, right? Jingling. Do you think that's possible? Green Valley. This is so bad. I actually sent a message to Lord not to worry when I got the weapon. Stillkek. I also sent a message to Responsible. Blue Shield Family 0713. The village cut off our virtual network? Returning Windblade. And no. Returning Windblade. Friends, this joke isn't funny at all. You should just accept it. Jingling. Most importantly, we don't know how they cut it off. Tianhai. Purple tier. Tianhai looked at everyone with a heavy gaze. Tianhai. This weapon should be the culprit. It's like a virus. After it entered our hands, it cut off the network with lightning speed. As he spoke, Tianhai's brows sank. He gripped the weapon for a moment before throwing it away. Still, the network was cut off. Returning Windblade. Hey, stop messing around. Returning Windblade. The Virtual World Corporation's virtual network. When did these natives have this kind of technology to break into the Virtual World Corporation's network? Do they understand this? Tianhai. What if someone defected to the enemy? Chapter 2247. Defecting to the enemy. The people of Universe 1 were showing goodwill to the natives? The Virtual World Corporation's virtual network was the crystallization of countless predecessors' wisdom. Right now, their situation was not as simple as the network being blocked. If the network was blocked, everyone's consciousness should be disconnected from the network and returned to Universe 1. At this moment, they were still standing here. This meant that the network was still in operation. From the inside or the outside? Jingling frowned and asked Sky C. Outside. Sky C's answer was very certain. Oh, of course. I'm referring to the outside we are in. In other words, the internal department of the Virtual World Corporation separated us from each other. There's a traitor in the Virtual World Corporation? Hui Feng Run was shocked. And it has to be the upper management. Sky C's eyes darkened. If it's a low-level employee, there should be no way to do this. The upper management. It should at least be a king. Gu Lu said. How is that possible? Steelcase also frowned. In Universe 1, this level also has a decisive position, not to mention the upper management of the Virtual World Corporation. Everyone has their own ambitions. Sky C's face darkened, his eyes filled with seriousness. The current situation was very bad for them. What was not said in the group chat was not wrong. They were preparing for the purge plan. Sky C still had doubts in his heart. If it was purge, why did they deliberately let the mission be completed? Looking around, in an instant, Sky C's brows sank. After obtaining the purple tier weapons, the surrounding players of Universe 1 were filled with excitement and excitement. In this mood, they had already forgotten awareness of danger. If it was not completed, there might be many people here who were still vigilant. Now that the purple tier weapons were in their hands, the doubts and vigilance in everyone's hearts disappeared. If the natives suddenly attacked, boom, suddenly, there was a loud explosion in the distance. The people in the village looked forward and saw a mushroom-like red cloud shrouding the sky and earth. The weapons exploded. The weapons exploded. Someone shouted in the distance. Sky C hurriedly shouted at Steelcase and the others. Quickly throw the weapons out. Without any hesitation, the leaders threw the weapons to the ground. No reluctance or regret in their eyes. They were very clear what was more important to them. The leaders could give up, but that didn't mean their subordinates could do the same. Even with Tianhai's order, there were still many people who tightly held onto their weapons, unwilling to let go of their purple tier weapons. Boom, 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 more and more booms rang out. This had caused quite a bit of panic in the village. Up until now, no one had been able to determine how these weapons had exploded. I found out. The flame rat hurried over and said, "Weapons cannot be bound, otherwise they will explode." Those exploding weapons all exploded after they were bound to the user. The moment they exploded, the user was swallowed up, leaving nothing behind. How ruthless! Knowing this result, the leaders couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. A purple tier weapon was extremely precious. In order to prevent it from being stolen, everyone bound their weapons when they obtained them. If all the people here were bound to him, there was no need for the natives to act. The humans of the first universe would all die. We have to quickly inform the others. Gu Lu frowned. That's right. Blue Shield Family 0713 was a simple and honest fatty. When Gu Lu finished speaking, he nodded. It doesn't matter if it's our people or not. At least everyone is from the first universe. If we want to destroy the natives' plan, we need everyone to work together. Who'll send it? Returning Windblade said. This kind of words needed to be sent by a person of virtue and prestige. Otherwise, even if they said it, no one would acknowledge it. Don't worry about this. Everyone send it. Tianhai hesitated for a while before saying, if we all send the message, I believe they will understand the seriousness of the problem. As soon as he finished speaking, Gu Lu, There is a problem with the purple tier weapons. Please do not bind them, otherwise they will explode. This is all a conspiracy. Please do not bind your weapons. Jingling, please do not bind your weapons. Stillkek, do not bind your weapons. Almost instantly, the leaders of the several parties began to send out messages through their speakers. Speaking of which, it was strange. Their network seemed to be sealed in a designated area, and the people outside could still hear the loudspeaker. They saw that the leaders of the several parties were sending similar messages. Thinking back to the previous explosion, many people looked at the weapons in their hands with a blank expression. They didn't dare to confirm the authenticity of these words. However, they didn't rush to bind their weapons. The situation seems to be under control. Flame Rat looked around. After the message was sent, the sound of the explosion disappeared. No one is an idiot, Jingling said. Jingling said, don't be fooled by their low levels. The people who still dare to come here despite the dangers of the virtual world group are all smart people. Regardless of whether they really believe us or not, they definitely won't easily try to bind their weapons. However, Tian Hai's brows didn't relax. I'm just afraid that some people think they're smart. Tian Hai frowned. After reaching the domain level, those who walk step by step will have a lot of thoughts. The stability of the current situation is what they are suspicious of. If someone, before Tian Hai could finish speaking, the game suddenly sounded Overlord's Might. Ha, bullshit. Overlord's Might. You guys are in cahoots. If you don't want us to bind our weapons, take advantage of the chaos to steal them. Overlord's Might. Guys, don't believe them. Overlord's Might. These people are just trying to steal our weapons. I've already tested it myself. It won't explode when it's bound. As soon as the message was sent, Overlord Might's eyes were filled with mockery. Of course, he didn't try to bind it. He was no fool. What he said was just for fun. It could also be considered as a small experiment. If what Tian Hai and the others said was true, that the binding would cause an explosion, then this place would definitely be very lively. This way, he could also confirm it. As for those who died, he didn't care. Who could they blame if they died? Because they were stupid? Shit. In an instant, the expressions of the people of Sky Sea changed drastically. How could there still be someone messing things up at this time? Is it him? Meng Luo suddenly said. Big Sister Baiyu has looked into him. His father is a small leader in the Virtual World Corporation and is a king-ranked martial artist. These are not important. Tian Hai opened his mouth and began typing into the speaker. Everyone, please don't act recklessly. The Sky Sea Supreme. But before the message could be completely entered, it was already too late. Chapter 2248. Boom, boom, boom. The entire village was engulfed in crimson fire clouds. Countless players of the universe, bound their weapons under Overlord Might's instigation. There were no exceptions. All of them exploded. Ha ha ha. Overlord Might couldn't help but laugh amidst the explosions. Look, it's true. They exploded after binding their weapons. Our people mustn't bind their weapons. These idiots, they'll believe anything you say. Young Masterway, a member of the Overlord Alliance, spoke up. What? Overlord Might frowned. What you did just now, wasn't that a bit? Overlord Azure Willow frowned and stopped himself. What did I do? They deserved to explode. Jimin Might did not show any signs of regret for what he had just done. Their brains aren't good. Greed killed them, and you're blaming me? Overlord Azure Willow didn't reply, but it was clear from his expression that he didn't approve of Overlord Might's actions. He had only entered the game not long ago. He also found out that a few of his good friends had gone to Blue River Planet under Overlord Might's orders. It seemed like they were there to deal with a person called Yi Zichen in real life, which was the future of the game. He didn't like any of this. Unfortunately, he was just a subordinate, so his dislike was useless against Overlord Might. However, he always believed in one thing. Overlord Might would get into trouble sooner or later, and this was just the beginning. A few speakers. In less than 5 minutes, the rumbling did not stop. The deafening explosions caused everyone's eardrums to hurt. Overlord Azure Willow estimated that at least 1 million humans from the universe had died from the consecutive explosions. 1 million. That wasn't a small number. Those who could enter the game were all legal citizens of the universe. Such a large number of deaths would be condemned by the Society of Supremes. But from the looks of it, Overlord Might didn't seem to realize the severity of the situation. He continued to laugh, and many people around him also laughed along with him. Overlord Azure Willow could only sigh at such a sick mentality. The entire village was in a mess. The explosions connected with each other, causing the flames to connect together. In some densely populated areas, when the people around them exploded, they were also caught up in it. Jingling, Overlord Might. Stillkirk, do you know what you're doing, Overlord Might? Gulu, we already said that we can't bind it. Why did you deliberately leak false information? Do you feel happy when you see your compatriots die? The leaders on Yi Zichen's side all rebuked him angrily. Seeing their universe compatriots die because of He Gemin Might's words, they felt as if their hearts were being cut by a knife. Overlord Might, you're blaming me now? Overlord's Might, you're blaming me for your lack of brains? If they want to blame someone, they can only blame their own greed. Who told them not to trust you? Overlord Might, haha, serves him right. Returning Windblade, we will report your actions to the Supreme Association. Wait for the association's judgment. Gulu, I will also report with my real name. Overlord Wei, do whatever you want. As if I'd be afraid. Do you know who my father is? Reporting me? Interesting. Do you think your report letter can be sent out from the virtual world? This was the fearlessness of an overlord. Any report had to go through the virtual network, and his father held a high position in the Virtual World Corporation. Even if someone reported him, his father could make things difficult for him. He had been tyrannical and tyrannical many times. The number of people who wanted to report him could go around an entire galaxy. Wasn't he still perfectly fine right now? This was power and status. He wasn't afraid of that at all. Tisk, seeing that no one sent a message, Overlord Wei twitched his mouth in disdain. He only knows how to talk big. So arrogant. Returning Windblade clenched his fist. Just what does his father do? Can you drag his father down? I can tell my father, said Meng Luo. I'll tell my father as well, said the Flame Rat. This guy really pisses me off. Several million people. He actually doesn't care about them at all. What a deceptive child, Blue Shield Family 0713 sighed. They didn't know Meng Luo and the Flame Rat's real identity. However, Baiyu was the White Emperor's daughter. Those who were able to hang out with Baiyu definitely had some influential families in the universe. Even Overlord Wei's father was an overlord. Facing the threat of several big shots, he probably didn't dare to indulge Overlord Wei's foolish son. Let's not talk about this. As the big brother, Tianhai pulled the topic back. We'll talk about Overlord Wei later. What we need to face now is how to get out. Hearing this, everyone shivered. They were currently imprisoned and didn't have the time to care about others. I've already sent people to the village entrance. Tianhai said. Everyone's eyes revealed concern. We can't get out. After a while, Tianhai shook his head. There are many natives stationed around the village. Invisibility scrolls can make them unable to see us, but we also have no way of leaving the village. There's a seal around the village. Are we really going to be purged? Returning Windblade asked nervously. Most likely. Tianhai nodded. My subordinates reported that over 60% of the villagers have been mobilized. They all have cold expressions and weapons in their hands. They've guarded every pass around the village. We have nowhere to hide. Everyone frowned. We should have a huge advantage in terms of numbers. Jingling calmly said. There are over 10 million humans in the village. Even if 30% of them died in the explosion, we still have 7 million left. That's true, but the problem is they aren't an army. Tianhai's meaning was easy to understand. Even though they had a lot of people, they were all fighting for themselves. If everyone followed the command of one person, unafraid of death, then they would definitely win. The problem was they wouldn't. Thus, these 7 million people were just a motley crew. Not only was their numbers not their advantage, it would become an irreversible disadvantage. This disadvantage came from their morale. Even though they were fighting for themselves, when they saw people dying in front of them, fear would grow in their hearts. The higher the number of deaths, the greater the fear, the lower the morale. When corpses were everywhere, filled with humans from the first universe, fear would slowly turn into despair. Despair, it would cause those who were originally filled with fighting spirit to lose their confidence. At that time, they would really become fish on the chopping block. Perhaps the other party wouldn't even need to act. They would all commit suicide. Then, the humans from the first universe would completely lose. Chapter 2249. Tian Hai's Reminder. It was like a heavy hammer striking the hearts of the crowd. The impact on morale was really important. It was very likely that too many deaths would cause fear in their subordinates. This is really bad. Jingling frowned. No matter what, He Jiminwei cannot shirk his responsibility. He must receive the punishment he deserves. That's right. The others nodded. If not for He Jiminwei's warning, there wouldn't have been so many deaths in Universe 1. So many humans had died, and to the survivors, it was definitely a terrible thing. At least, even if there were occasional deaths, they still had an absolute advantage in terms of numbers. Of course, they still had it now. However, the advantage in numbers was an absolute advantage that the natives did not dare to act rashly. Now that they suddenly lost millions of humans, the mastermind must be planning to make a move. Do you see that? This is the greed of human nature. Above the village, an old man sat on the eaves of a house, listening to the firecracker-like explosions outside, watching the souls of the humans of Universe 1 disappear in front of his eyes. There was not a trace of emotion in his turbid eyes. If there was, there might be a hint of ridicule. Lord is right. Mu Yi respectfully stood in front of the old man, his head deeply lowered. Lord, when do we need to start? Just now. The people below have sent news that our people are in place. Very good. The old man nodded. Suddenly, the old man sitting on the eaves couldn't help but cough violently. Mu Yi hurried over. The old man spread his hands. His palms were red. Lord, are you all right? Mu Yi comforted. I'm all right. After coughing for a while, the old man stretched out his hand, signaling Mu Yi not to worry too much. Have you found the person? The youth you mentioned isn't here, but the woman has been found. Mu Yi replied. He's not here. The old man frowned. His eyes sunk into thought for a long time. Are you sure you didn't miss anything? This subordinate has sent people to search several times, but they couldn't find the youth. Mu Yi said confidently. Forget it. The old man didn't insist. His current situation didn't allow him to continue waiting. Do it. Get that woman back for me. Cough, 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 alive. Yes. With that, Mu Yi hurriedly left from the eaves. After he left, the old man sitting on the eaves coughed more and more violently. In the end, he even fell from the eaves. Large mouthfuls of blood flowed out from the gaps between his fingers. His nose was bleeding profusely. In an instant, the old man's entire body was covered in flames. He sat cross-legged on the ground, causing the surrounding space to distort from the heat. If anyone else saw this, they would definitely be shocked. The flames on his body were not just pure red, but also had a hint of gold mixed within. After a while, the flames subsided. The old man sat on the ground, panting heavily. Compared to before, he seemed to have aged a lot. His skin had withered like tree bark. The hair on the top of his head had all turned white. It was still that kind of withered white without any luster. Half a day? You become like this in just half a day? The old man sat on the ground and murmured. This was the body that he had just taken possession of in the morning. So far, it had not even been 12 hours. The originally strong young man had become like this. Based on a long period of lodging, he had a rough idea of what was going to happen. The bodies he possessed were all ordinary people. They had no way of withstanding the flames in their bodies. The burning of the flames caused their life force to rapidly drain away. At the start, he could still suppress it, and the bodies he possessed could endure it for a while. However, in the past few days, he was unable to suppress the flames in his body. He desperately needed a new host. He couldn't use the ordinary villagers anymore. With the current intensity of the flames in his body, the ordinary villagers would be burned to ashes after a few more days of fusion. What he needed was a body that could withstand the baptism of the flames. He had 3 targets in mind: Yi Zichen, Bai Sei, and Qingyu. Yi Zichen was the best choice. He had an elemental spirit in his body, as well as 4 other elemental spirits. Then there was Qingyu. The fire spirit clansmen were naturally resistant to fire and had a certain ability to suppress the fire element. Finally, there was Bai Sei. There was nothing special about her other than the fact that she had flames in her body, which allowed her to withstand the flames. But now, Bai Sei had already appeared in the village. Although he didn't see Zichen or Qingyu, he couldn't wait any longer. He had to quickly obtain Bai Sei and fuse with her, then think about other things. The elemental source really shouldn't be greedy. The elder sat on the ground and muttered. The old man sat on the ground and muttered to himself. However, it was too late for regrets. The only thing that could save him now was the only way to complete this mission. Tianhai, what do you think we should do? In the village, in this kind of situation, Tianhai's steadiness made everyone subconsciously want to seek his opinion. He was the calmest person from start to finish. He had always been analyzing the problem rationally. Wait, Tianhai shrugged with a wry smile. Tianhai smiled bitterly and spread his hands. Don't think that I have a solution. Actually, I don't have any. All we can do now is wait. Wait for who? Returning Wind Blade frowned. The Virtual World Corporation. Tianhai said, there's no way the Virtual World Corporation wouldn't notice such a huge loophole. Once the Virtual World Corporation fixes it, we can directly log off. What if they don't fix it? Jingling frowned. It was surprising that this girl, who looked very young, was calmer than the men in Steelcase and Windblade. The relationships within the Virtual World Corporation are very complicated. If there's a problem, just reporting it requires a lot of procedures. According to what you said at the start, the higher-ups of the Virtual World Corporation defected to the enemy. Then, I feel like the Virtual World Corporation won't deal with us in a short period of time, Jingling said. You're right, Tianhai nodded. He didn't deny Jingling's words. But we still have to wait. I know you guys think that waiting is just sitting around waiting for death, but that's all we can do now. With just a few thousand people from our clans, we won't be able to shake the entire village's population. No, I don't have any descendants. Returning Windblade covered his face. You make it sound like we have descendants. Gulu rolled her eyes. Don't be too pessimistic about everything. Of course, we can't be too optimistic either. I feel like we still need to make some preparations. What's there to prepare? The flame rat's gaze froze as he held his weapon. Men, just kill them. He had already been scared once. This time, he had to win against his heart. Even if he died, he had to die on the way. Chapter 2250. Yi Zichen saw the determination in the flame rat's eyes. Tianhai couldn't help but look over with a hint of shock in his eyes. That's right. Jingling also nodded, then took out her weapon. No matter what, we can't place our future in someone else's hands. All of a sudden, Tianhai was stunned. The future? Yeah, I nearly forgot. The future is still outside. What happened to the future god outside? Meng Luo didn't understand. He's definitely a smart person. Tianhai's eyes were filled with trust and certainty. He definitely noticed that something was wrong with us. What's more, he was the first person to remind us of the purge plan. I believe that he's already on his way. That's right, the future god can definitely do it, Hui Fengren said. I also believe in the future god, Steelcase said. Then he frowned. But before that, I need to tell you guys something. The natives have made their move. All of a sudden, everyone's heart tensed up. No one asked what Steelcase was referring to. All they had to do was look forward. There's no other way. Let's fight. With that, Tianhai raised the weapon in his hand. God Domain! Yes. Several thousand God Domain experts replied in unison. The other leaders couldn't help but feel their scalps tingle when they saw that. In terms of numbers, they were far too lacking compared to the God Domain. Also, the members of the God Domain were much more outstanding than the members they recruited later on. Yes, they were envious. Very quickly, everyone calmed themselves down, gripped their weapons, and shouted towards the members of their respective factions. Alert! 7 of the 10 major factions began to prepare for battle. I suddenly noticed something, Hui Fengren said. Windblade said, Did you guys see the rouge and makeup? This guy didn't show his face from the start. She was more excited than anyone else when the great god appeared. Who knows? Don't worry about that. Prepare for battle. There's a problem. There's definitely a problem. Yi Zichen looked at the empty chat group, and the chat that didn't respond no matter how many times he sent message. His eyes were filled with darkness. Xi and Zheng Nan hasn't returned yet. Yi Zichen had already sent people to investigate the moment he received no response. Not yet. Han Qing shook his head. Yi Zichen frowned deeply. He knew very well that Meng Luo and the others were in prison. This was inevitable. What he didn't know was that their information network had been cut off. Don't let anything happen. Yi Zichen sat in his chair with a sullen look. He was still worried that Meng Luo and company didn't have time to send a message because they had already made their move. But didn't Meng Luo and the others say that they had completed the mission and obtained a purple tier weapon? He turned on the virtual network. Saya, Meng Luo and company's situation caused Yi Zichen to feel uneasy. He called out to Xin Yuan Xiang for a long time, but there was no response. Thus, Yi Zichen could only contact the Highness of the Virtual World Corporation. What is it, Lil Milky Way? Shea's message appeared in front of Yi Zichen. Small Milky Way. This title caused Yi Zichen's scalp to go numb. I need to trouble you with something, Yi Zichen replied. Oh, Little Milky Way, you've actually troubled me with something. Tell me quickly then. I'm very busy carrying out a mission outside, Shea replied. You're not at the Virtual World Corporation? Yi Zichen frowned. Of course, Shea replied. I'm the Royal Highness of the Virtual World Group, so I have to go out and do some work. Otherwise, why else would they pay me for free? Then never mind, Yi Zichen said. Yeah, just what is it? Tell me, Shea pursued. Yi Zichen had thought that Shea was still in the corporation. He wanted Yi Zichen to use his position to investigate Meng Luo and company's situation. Now that Shea isn't in the corporation, there's nothing he can do. Say it, Shea continuously asked. Yi Zichen hesitated for a moment before finally replying. When he sent the message, Shea didn't reply for a long time. I sent someone to investigate. I'll contact you when there's a result. If there's nothing else, then I won't say anymore. I'm still carrying out a mission. Thank you. No need to be courteous with me. Lil Milky Way, Shea left the virtual network with a tease. Yi Zichen couldn't help but feel speechless when he saw this title. It was fortunate that Shea had already sent someone to investigate. This allowed Yi Zichen to be a bit more at ease. Ding, bro, future. The moment he saw the message, Yi Zichen shot up from his seat. You finally sent a message. Suhu. During these few hours, Yi Zichen had been waiting for Suhu's news. According to their plan and agreement, it should be Mu Yi attacking Yi Zichen's city, and Suhu had promised him. Yet, Mu Yi didn't come, and Meng Luo and company were forcefully summoned to the novice village. Yi Zichen sent him countless messages during that time. Not a single one. What exactly are you doing? Suhu, are you intentionally messing with me? Do you think I'm easy to scare? Yi Zichen roared angrily, while his body trembled uncontrollably. Bro, future, don't be angry. Suhu quickly replied with a hint of bitterness in his tone. I didn't expect things to turn out like this. At least, I received all the messages you sent me. It was also because of these messages that Lord Fire nearly noticed me. What? Did you come to scold me? Yi Zichen asked. How could that be? Suhu quickly explained. I didn't mean it like that. I also feel very sorry. Bro, future, I really didn't think that Lord Fire would suddenly bring forward the purge plan. Brought forward? Yi Zichen frowned. That's right. Lord Fire suddenly contacted me half a day ago and told me to go to his place. When I got there, he brought up the matter of bringing forward the purge plan. Ever since then, I have never left his sight, said Suhu. Why bring it forward? Lord Fire's body condition is rather bad. Suhu sent a message. Suhu sent a message. He urgently needs a vessel now. This vessel mentioned you and 2 girls in the meeting. Since you sent me a message, it means that you're safe, so I don't have to worry anymore. Vessel. Yi Zichen frowned. Then, his expression suddenly darkened. Who are the other 2 vessels? Bai Sei and Qingyu, Suhu replied. That's what I heard Mu Yi say in the meeting. The purge plan this time is to obtain a vessel. Bro, future, Qingyu should be with you, right? Do you know Bai Sei? I do. Since that's the case, Then hurry up and hide her. I reckon that Lord Fire won't be able to live for long. As long as we make him fail this time, then we'll definitely win. But Baisei is in your village right now. Chapter 22:51. Don't kill me. In the village, the first universe's human was kneeling on the ground. In front of him was a young man holding a long blade. The blade was still dripping with blood. Not long ago, he had used this long saber to decapitate the people around him in front of the man in front of him. Bright red blood splattered on the native's face. It also splattered on the clothes of the person begging for mercy. "Let me go." The person on the ground kept begging for mercy. When he saw the people around him die, he seemed to have lost the courage to fight and became as lowly as an ant. Little did he know, the young man in front of him smiled coldly, and the long blade in his hand fell without any hesitation. How pitiful! Seeing the round head roll in front of the young man, he glanced at the eyes that were unwilling to close in the end. With a disdainful smile, he kicked the head away. He used his battle robe to wipe the blood off the blade. "Sir, the west side of the village is almost settled." At this moment, a few subordinates ran in front of the young man and reported the situation. He leaped onto the roof of the pavilion and gazed into the distance. The entire village was currently in a chaotic battle, and the air of the village was also lingering with the pungent stench of blood. "How are the casualties?" "We have more than 10 dead and a few hundred injured. The 300,000 invaders are almost all dead. There are still a few who are resisting, but they will die soon." The subordinate was excited. "Sir, we have a big victory in the west side of the village. Are there any who surrendered?" The young man asked. "Yes, according to what you said, regardless of whether they surrendered or not, we will kill them all." The subordinate replied. "Good. This time it was a purge plan to get rid of all the natives. They didn't need captives who surrendered. They just wanted them to die." Lord Fire had said that these invaders had their own independent homeland outside of the world they lived in. If they wanted to get rid of them, they had to get rid of them completely. "Don't get too carried away." The young man frowned when he saw the excited look on his subordinate's face. "Our strength is much higher than those invaders. The west side of the village isn't their main force, so it is natural for us to have such a result." "Understood." The subordinate nodded. "Clean up the west side of the village and meet up with the north side." "Yes." The subordinate accepted the order and left. The young man stood on the roof of the pavilion and narrowed his eyes. He secretly clenched his fists. This time, he must complete Lord Hoa's task beautifully. He wanted to use the blood of these people to wash away the shame from last time. "I've just received news that the entire west side of the village has fallen." Jingling squinted his eyes as he read the news from his subordinates. "All fallen?" Returning Windblade was shocked. "More or less." Tianhai nodded in response. "The west side of the village is the back of the village, and that side is connected to the residences in the village. Our Universe 1 has fewer people, so it's understandable that we would be the first to fall. Even so, that's still hundreds of thousands of humans," Gulu said. "That's right." Steelcase nodded. "Hundreds of thousands of humans were slaughtered just like that. In the history of the human race, this hasn't happened for tens of thousands of years. Humanity had a total of 3,080 universe countries. These universe countries, any one of them had trillions and trillions of human beings. 300,000 was actually a very small number when compared to the entire human population. However, as humanity stood out from the other races, their tyrannical strength allowed them to have peaceful time to develop. Other than the alien battlefields, where many races clashed, where danger and opportunity coexisted. In the territory of humanity, hundreds of thousands of people being slaughtered was already a very serious matter. Including the self-destruction from before, at least 40% of the humans in our village have died. Blue Shield Family 0713 frowned and said, "Not only that, we have to consider another problem. No matter what, there are hundreds of thousands of people in the west side of the village, and they were all wiped out in less than half an hour. It can be seen that the difference in strength between us and the Aboriginals is too great." "Who doesn't know that?" Jing Ling frowned. The difference in strength between the Aboriginals and the humans of the first universe was obvious. Even the weakest aboriginals in the village were at least at the 5th level of domain. The players were all at the 2nd level of domain. In terms of raw strength, they were a full 3 levels apart. In terms of equipment, the aboriginals' equipment wasn't any worse than the humans of the first universe, and might even be better. If there was a difference in strength, equipment couldn't make up for it. In terms of numbers, if this continued, it wouldn't be long before they wouldn't have any advantage in terms of numbers. I don't know if you guys noticed. Gulu hesitated for a moment, looked at the messages sent by her subordinates, and spoke to everyone. The attacking methods of these aboriginals are very methodical. They've actually divided us into 5 squares: north, south, east, west, and center. From the periphery, they're slowly nibbling away at our strength. Yes, Jingling nodded. There's nothing wrong with that. Tianhai shrugged. Once the periphery is cleared, their strength can merge. At that time, the people in the middle won't be able to escape. So, can we try to kill our way out before they completely merge? Gulu looked toward the northwest. Now that the west side has fallen, the Aboriginals' forces are gathering toward the north. Why don't we take advantage of this and kill our way out from the west side? We can try. Stilkek nodded. Directly clash with the Aboriginals? Returning Wind Blade frowned. Are you sure you want to do this? Why not? Gulu said. If we wait here, we'll definitely die. At most, the people on the periphery will consume some of the Aboriginals, but the number will definitely not be much. If we break out now, even if we don't succeed, we can at least disrupt the Aboriginals' plan. When that time comes, wouldn't it be better to think of other countermeasures? We can't just stay here and wait to be nibbled away. Agreed. Jingling nodded. Agreed. Stilkek and the Blue Shield clan agreed as well. Tianhai naturally did not have any other opinions. Seeing that everyone had already agreed, returning Windblade could only agree as well. We can't. Meng Luo, who had not spoken much, frowned. Sister Ro and Sister Baiyu are still unconscious. We have to stay here and take care of them. Gulu glanced at Hua Jinro and Baiyu subconsciously. The people here did not know why the two of them had become like this. Then let Nebula stay here. Gulu hesitated for a moment and looked at the others. The few of us will lead the way and try to break out once. If we succeed, Nebula will follow. If not, we'll think of other plans. No problem. Stilkek was the first to agree. Looking at everyone's gaze, Gulu let out a deep breath. Kill. Chapter 2252. Brother Future, are you really coming to the village? After Su Hu and Yi Zichen contacted each other, their communication never stopped. I have to remind you, the entire village has already been locked down by Mu Yi's people. There are several hundred formation masters at all the entrances. The people inside can't leave, and the people outside can't enter. I'm already on my way. Yi Zichen's gaze was sharp as he charged at the very front like an unsheathed blade in the wilderness of Universe 2. Han Qing, Qing Hui, Xi and Jingnan, many experts follow behind Yi Zichen. The reason they came this time was to save everyone in the village. It seemed like they were trying to break a rock with an egg. That was indeed the case. There were less than 100 of them, and that was even after calling all of the shop's employees. In the village, Mu Yi's manpower was more than several 100,000. They were on a completely different level, and they did not have an absolute advantage in terms of strength. However, Yi Zichen was still determined. He did not hesitate at all. There was no way he could ignore Meng Luo, the flame rat, and company in the village. Brother Future, why are you doing this? Su Hu's message was filled with emotion. For the sake of this purge plan, Mu Yi and Lord Hua had made thorough preparations. Yi Zichen coming at this time was like sending a sheep into a tiger's den. There's one more thing I need to tell you. At least 40% of your people in the village have died. The entire village is in chaos right now. Do you know how many of Mu Yi's people died? They haven't even broken 100 yet. This is a battle of strength. You guys can't win. So you're afraid? Yi Zichen's gaze was rather cold, and his tone was filled with disdain towards Su Hu. You feel like you can't turn the situation around, so you want to rely on that Lord Fire? Of course not. Then think of a way together. Yi Zichen shouted. You look like you were going to give up from the start, and kept telling me to think things through. Have you ever thought about whether or not you will have any chance of taking back the village if he gets white? You keep saying that the villagers are your compatriots, and you can't give up on them, but what you're doing right now is no different from giving up on them. I'm adapting to circumstances. After a long silence, Suhu clenched his fists and shouted. What could he do? Right now, he was just a puppet. Everything in the village was in the hands of Mu-Yi, who was also Lord Hua. He had no rights and was just a marionette thrown into the open. His only hope was for Mu-Yi to cause trouble for Yi Zichen. At that time, he would take advantage of the chaos to deal with Mu-Yi, and he would slowly retract his power. But there was nothing he could do if the purge plan was brought forward. Then you should continue to adapt to circumstances. With that, Yi Zichen couldn't be bothered to say anything more to Suhu. He looked forward with shining eyes. It seemed that he had found the wrong partner to work with. No guts. He even wanted to seize power. What a ridiculous idea. As long as Lord Hua was still alive, he would definitely have to face such a situation if he wanted to reclaim the village chief's authority. Right now, it was just bringing everything forward. He was actually afraid. My lord, we're almost at the village. Exai and Zhengnian let out a long sigh. He was sent by Yi Zichen to check out the situation in the village. After learning about the situation, he met Yi Zichen and company who had already set off. How's the situation up ahead? They haven't made a move yet when I checked, Exai and Zhengnian replied. At that time, I saw a lot of people surrounding the outside and many array masters setting up spiritual arrays. How many? Yi Zichen asked. Above 300 at all 4 entrances, Exai and Zhengnian replied. What do you think we should charge in? Yi Zichen continued to ask. Yi Zichen didn't know the exact situation, but Exai and Zhengnian had checked out the entire village. Asking him was the best method. I don't recommend charging in. Exai and Zhengnian clenched his teeth. It's not that I'm afraid. It's that even if we charge in, we definitely won't be able to get out. I'm telling the truth, we definitely won't be able to get out. Is that so? With that, Yi Zichen also stopped and looked at the people around him. Exai and Jingnan's words just now made me think of something. If you want to back out now, you could directly leave. I won't blame you. You heard it as well. This trip to the village will most likely end in death. I believe in Exai and Jingnan's judgment. He naturally has his reasons for saying that. I don't think he's afraid, so I'll allow you to leave. Yi Zichen looked at the surrounding people silently. These people weren't data. Regardless of whether they belonged to the second universe or not, they were all living people. Yi Zichen couldn't let these people pay the price because of his impulsiveness. Want to leave? Then leave. Yi Zichen wouldn't blame anyone, nor did he have the time to think about all that. Everyone was silent. However, no one took even half a step back. Can I assume that you're all willing to die with me? Yi Zichen squinted his eyes. My lord, we're willing to live. Chicano smiled wryly. Why must we die? Can't my lord let us come out alive? When this subordinate was guided to you by fate, I believed in all of your decisions, and believe that you can save us from danger. My life is yours. Han Qing's reply was very simple. If Baifeng wanted to kill him during the competition with Baifeng last time, he definitely would have died, even though everyone knew that it was just a competition that would stop at a certain point. Han Qing was stubborn. Strength is obtained from life and death battles, said the city general. Then what about you? Yi Zichen looked towards Exai and Zhengnian. What else can I say? Exai and Zhengnian covered his face. My esteemed master already said that. Esteemed master's life is yours, and my life is esteemed master's. F*CK. I'm going to fight you with an iron head. Exai and Zhengnian clenched his teeth, then took out a chicken leg from somewhere and chomped on it before throwing it on the ground. I'm wasting food. I'm definitely going to come back alive and pick up this chicken leg. Exai and Zhengnian couldn't help but mutter as he looked at the chicken leg on the ground. Then, he looked forward without any hesitation. The outline of the village could already be seen. There was a huge spiritual formation at the top of the village. The reason why we can't get out after breaking in is because as long as a formation master is still alive, no matter how many times we break in, they'll be able to restore the formation. So I suggest that we try to think of a way to deal with it. Kill them all. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and looked forward. Just kill them all. Chapter 2253. Directly above the village, a huge purplish-blue spiritual array sat there. Looking from afar, the entire village looked like a furnace, and the disk was the lid. The edge of the spiritual array released countless thin lines. These lines crisscrossed, forming a fishing net in mid-air. The humans of universe, one were the fish in the net. No matter how they struggled, they couldn't break free from the net. When the net was retracted, they were the food on the plate of the aboriginals. To break this net, they needed to do it from the outside. This smell of blood, they should have started fighting inside. A few array masters maintaining the array outside whispered to each other. What do you think? The surrounding array masters couldn't help but curl their lips. The smell of blood was so heavy. If they hadn't started fighting, then something must have happened. I wonder how many have died. How many could it be? Just from the smell of blood, it should be at least tens of thousands. Moreover, they found so many array masters, they definitely want to kill everyone inside. Luckily, we don't need to go in. These array masters were here to arrange the spiritual array. They didn't need to go inside to fight. As for the array masters here, most of them came from other villages. It was very difficult for a single village to gather enough to seal the entire village. One must know, this large array had a total of 5 directions: north, south, east, west, and center. The other 4 directions had more than 300 array masters, and the center had even more. What they needed to do was to ensure the stability of the array, to make the humans of universe want a turtle in a jar. I hope no one comes to cause trouble, so that we can return to the village safe and sound. Such a large amount of killing, I don't know how long I'll have to be vegetarian to wash it away. An old student among the array masters sighed. He seemed to pity the people trapped inside, saying words of regret, but the cosmic energy in his hands was more abundant than anyone else's. I do hope that someone comes to cause trouble. A mustached man in the crowd grinned. These foreign invaders should be killed. If not for the array needing maintenance, I'd go in and kill the enemy right now. Is that so? Suddenly, before the mustached man could finish his words, a whisper appeared in his ears. You think? The mustached man smiled proudly. These intruders should all die. Oh, another cold reply. Only then did the mustached man tilt his head and look over, mumbling to himself. Who talked to me just now? Why can't I tell who it is? It's me. In an instant, a long sword glinting with a cold light appeared in front of the mustached man's neck. The sword pierced through his neck. When the blade was pulled out, a stream of blood gushed out from the wound. The mustached man did not utter a single word. He clutched his neck with both hands and stared straight ahead. His eyes looked like they were about to pop out. Dong! He fell to the ground. Twitch! Do it! After dealing with the formation master in front of him, Yi Zichen waved his sword. In an instant, in front of the formation masters at the eastern entrance of the village, countless experts holding weapons appeared. When these people revealed their faces, their weapons had already been placed on their vitals. Poochie, poochie, poochie. Dark red blood flowed out from the necks of countless formation masters. Not good, there's an enemy. The natives, who were protecting the formation masters, finally reacted and shouted. In this short span of less than half a minute, the 300 formation masters in the east of the village all died. A huge crack instantly appeared on the formation disk above the village after losing the maintenance of the formation masters. Retreat. After dealing with the formation masters, Yi Zichen no longer had any thoughts of fighting. He took out an invisibility scroll and hid himself. The surrounding subordinates did the same. Not even a minute passed from when they appeared to when they disappeared. Why are they all gone? The natives who were ordered to protect the formation masters roared angrily. Send people to investigate. I'll go and notify Lord Mui. Then send a few people to other locations to notify them. Tell them that the reinforcements of the intruders have arrived. Their target is the formation masters. Understood. According to Xin Jingnan's explanation, Ironhead charging in was a very irrational idea. Actually, all they had to do was to aim at the formation masters. If the formation masters died, then the formation masters would naturally be damaged. The formation would naturally be damaged, and it would be easier for the people inside to kill their way out. Actually, that was exactly what Yizichin wanted. The invisibility scroll was an important help for them to carry out this mission. Yizichin did not know whether the natives had the invisibility scroll or not. He also did not know whether they could fight their way out. However, Yizichin and company did. With the invisibility scroll, as long as they were careful, they would be able to easily pass through the guard's line of sight and deal with the formation masters when they let their guard down. Just like just now, everyone chose their own target, and after dealing with the target as fast as possible, they used the invisibility scroll to leave. There was no hesitation at all. After killing the target, they moved on to the next one. F***CK, this feels too good. Xi and Zhengnan couldn't help but shout. Xi and Zhengnan couldn't stop shouting. Just now, he had used an invisibility scroll and swaggered to the side of the array master. After that, he dealt with 5 of them. He had thought that it would be a bloody battle. However, he didn't expect that he only used less than a minute to deal with the formation masters, and all of them were able to escape unscathed. Deities really do have a unique advantage over us. Han Qing couldn't help but exclaim. Even he, who was at the star level, had never gotten an invisibility scroll like that before. Whether it was used for assassination or escape, it was an absolute weapon. What was the scariest? Sometimes killing people invisibly was the scariest. Sometimes killing without leaving a trace was the most terrifying. You don't know that I'm right in front of you. Before you could even react, my blade will have already taken your life. That was the invisibility scroll. Yizichin did not think that the invisibility scroll would have such a miraculous effect. Actually, if you kept your guard up, it would be very easy to notice after using the scroll. Unfortunately, regardless of whether it was the natives or the formation masters, they were all living comfortably. They didn't have any sense of danger at all. It was also their arrogance that caused them to lose their lives. Sire, where are we going this time? The west. Why the west? Shouldn't we be heading towards the south or the north based on our position? Xi and Zhengnan didn't understand. The east side was damaged, so they will definitely send people to warn us. They will definitely think the same way as you. They will warn the north and south first, then the west will be the last. And those formation masters will definitely think the same way. We will attack the north and south, and only when the north and south are in trouble will the west start to prepare. What we need to do is to use reverse thinking and deal with all of them before the west pays too much attention to them. Chapter 2254. Your Excellency, after the East Gate was breached, the guard captain of the East Gate hurriedly ran into the village. At this time, the whole village was in a mess. There were corpses everywhere, fighting and screaming everywhere. The whole land had been soaked in blood. When stepping on the ground, the blood on the ground was no longer water, it was a little sticky. In the middle of the village, Mu-Yi was still sitting on the eaves of the pavilion. He had already seen the loss of the East Formation, and when he saw the person rushing in to report the situation, he asked directly, "Something happened in the East?" "Yes, Your Excellency." The person nodded. This subordinate thinks that it is the reinforcements of the invaders. How many people? Very few, less than 100. As soon as the voice fell, the person gritted his teeth and lowered his head. This subordinate is incompetent. I didn't catch any of them. I don't blame you. Mu-Yi's eyes revealed a smile, as if he didn't feel the slightest bit annoyed by the fall of the East Formation Masters. As if there was a touch of excitement. Your Excellency, please believe in this subordinate. This subordinate will definitely get rid of them all. It's good that you have the heart. Mu-Yi patted his shoulder. I know who these people are. They are not people you can deal with. They're my targets. Your Excellency, you mean, where did they go? Mu-Yi asked. This subordinate doesn't know. The person lowered his head, clenching his fists tightly. This subordinate knows that they suddenly appeared, and before we could react, all the formation masters were killed, and when we went to encircle them, they suddenly disappeared. Disappeared? Inexplicably, Mu-Yi took out a scroll from his arms. I understand. Then according to your guess, where will they go? This subordinate thinks that their target is the formation masters. They want to get rid of the formation masters, break our formation, and let the people inside out. Yes, Mu Yi nodded. This is their idea. With Mu Yi's affirmation, the person's smile became wider. This subordinate has already sent someone to inform the other guards. We will definitely not let the situation at the East Gate happen again. Well done. Mu Yi patted his shoulder heavily. Then do you know which gate they will go to this time? North and south. Okay, you can leave. Mu Yi nodded, but the newcomer looked suspicious. He could feel that Mu Yi's attitude towards him had dropped rapidly the moment he mentioned the north and south choice. My lord, did I say something wrong? No. Mu Yi shook his head. Then, our East Gate. The East Gate's array formation has already been broken. If there isn't an array formation master maintaining it, those intruders are likely to rush out. Don't worry about that, Mu Yi smiled. I've already thought of this possibility, and I've already made preparations. If you go back now, you'll find that the array masters on your side are all here. The newcomer subconsciously looked towards the East Gate. He discovered that the East Gate's tattered formation was actually showing signs of recovery. Let's go back. Guard it well. I won't blame you this time, but if there's a next time, don't blame me for not remembering our past relationship. This subordinate swears to protect the formation master with my life. All right, go ahead. Mu Yi squinted his eyes and looked to the west after Dongman Elder left. Choose one from the north and the south. I don't think you're that stupid, right? They said it was a novice village. Actually, the size of the entire village was rather huge. It was easy to imagine the size of a village that could hold over 10 million players. If they wanted to run around the entire village, it would take them at least 10 hours. It would take at least 10 hours, and this was under the condition that they could not take a detour. The west and east faced each other. They were very far apart. Yi Zichen and company sped towards the west side of the village. When they passed by the south side of the village, they could feel the solemn, murderous aura from afar. The surrounding guards looked around covetously, while the array masters all looked around carefully for their own safety. They did not have the mood to chat with each other like the array masters in the east side of the village. My lord really was right. Xi and Zhengnan couldn't help but click his tongue when he saw that. Over 1,000 guards all held their weapons and stared ahead. From the looks of it, not to mention 100 people, even if they went alone, they would be captured. Just now, it was just that the wind bent the grass, and several guards wielded long sabers or heavy hammers as they swung forward. It's fortunate that we didn't attack the south gate, Xi Zhengnan muttered. Yi Zichen looked down without saying anything. All of this was within his expectations. If they didn't send people to be on guard when such a huge thing happened and remained lazy, then it could only be said that they were stupid. What he didn't expect was that, based on the Southgate situation, it would take at least 10-odd minutes for them to receive the message, confirm it, and be on guard. In other words, their message was 15 minutes faster than Yi Zichen's. That was definitely not good news. Since that's the case, the North Gate might also receive the message, although they might not be too serious before anything happened in the South Gate. At the very least, they would be prepared. There are still too few people. Yi Zichen couldn't help but let out a sigh. This sort of plan was actually to catch them off guard. After using it once, they would definitely be on guard. He had thought of splitting his forces into 4 directions for a surprise attack. In the end, he gave up on that idea due to the number of people. He had too few people. If he split his forces, there would at most be 10-20 people in each direction. A surprise attack required no one to react. If he split his forces and each group faced 10-odd formation masters, then they might not be able to completely destroy a single gate, and his own people might die inside. He could only get everyone to stick together. That was the only way to end the battle in the shortest amount of time possible. Then leave the battle and head towards the next destination. Sire, look in front. Xi Zhengnan suddenly reached out his hand. Everyone looked over. They saw a young man hurriedly running towards the west gate outside the village. Why is he here? Yi Zichen couldn't help but frown. Sire, this person is definitely the person heading towards the west gate. Should we? Xi and Zhengnan rubbed his neck. Yi Zichen continued to frown. After thinking for a long time, go. Hearing that, Xin Zhengnan left with the order. Everyone watched as he got in front of the person and finished him off with a single slash. However, Yi Zichen continued to frown. He felt like something wasn't right. Logically speaking, the East Gate should have sent people to report to the other three sides at the same time. The South Gate had already received the message 10 minutes ago. How did they meet the person heading towards the West Gate? One had to know that in order to avoid trouble, Yi Zichen and company intentionally took the long route and took a huge detour. Just what is this Mui doing? Chapter 2255. At the West Gate of the village. In the distant forest. This was the habitat of the forest wolves outside the village. Their levels were very low. According to the level system, they were only level 15, which meant that they were only at the first level of the domain realm. At that moment, the forest wolves moved back and forth restlessly. Their sharp sense of smell was able to sense that their territory was being invaded. However, they couldn't see the existence of the intruder. Yi Zichen and company used invisibility scrolls to hide at the periphery of the lush forest. They were able to see the West Gate from where they were. They were very far away, so the guards at the gate were unable to sense their existence. Sire, look. Xin Zhengnan pointed at the guards at the West Gate. Although they were very far away and didn't know what they were talking about, they could tell that the guards didn't have any intention of being on guard at all. All of them were chatting with each other with their mouths wide open. There were even a few people who held a bottle gourd in their hands and continuously poured it into their mouths, causing them to stagger as they walked. Look at these guys, they weren't on guard at all. The person we dealt with most likely came to report, Xin Zhengnan said with a smile. Xin Zhengnan's face was full of smiles. Sir, this time I have made a great contribution. When we return, you must reward me. Han Qing, who was on the side, slapped Xin Zhengnan. It was a very heavy slap, causing Xin Zhengnan to be unable to help but shrink his neck and squat down on the ground while covering his head. Esteemed master, why did you hit me? You still dare to ask? Han Qing frowned. Solving problems for Sire is our duty. You actually dare to ask for benefits from Sire. I was just saying. Xin Zhengnan felt a bit wronged. Xin Zhengnan felt a little wronged. He was just a little proud just now, as if he was asking for credit. He naturally didn't expect Yi Zichen to give him any rewards. Ever since he started following Yi Zichen, his food was much better than before. He already felt very happy to be able to eat chicken drumsticks every day. Xin Zhengnan could only twitch his mouth and not retort when he saw Han Qing's gaze. He had been by Han Qing's side since he was young. Han Qing was both his esteemed master and his strict father. If one had to say who he was most afraid of, it would definitely be Han Qing. He didn't dare to talk back to Han Qing. During this time, Yi Zichen paid close attention to the situation in the west of the village. His knitted eyebrows never once relaxed. Store manager, are we going to do it now? Asked the employee that Yi Zichen hired. I think it's best to act now. Xin Zhengnan suddenly popped up. While Westgate's people are not paying attention, let's get rid of them as soon as possible. Otherwise, if someone finds out that the messenger was killed and sends another one, it will be troublesome. If you don't speak, I won't make you a mute, Han Qing rebuked. Yi Zichen glanced at Xin Zhengnan without saying anything. On the surface, Xin Zhengnan's thoughts weren't wrong. While they were lax, he had to settle this as soon as possible, lest a long night brings trouble. Not only him, but most of the people here had the same thought. It was just that they didn't say it as quickly as Xin Zhengnan. Yi Zichen felt like something was off. Han Qing, Senior Qing Hui, Chicano, what do you think? After hesitating for a while, Yi Zichen was unable to come to a decision. Instead, he turned to Han Qing, Qing Hui, and Chicano and asked, My little friend, in the future, it's best if you don't call me senior. Qing Hui smiled. Qing Hui smiled. In terms of experience and strength, Han Qing and Chicano are both my seniors, but they're both your subordinates. I don't feel comfortable with you calling me that. What's more, you're the one who saved my life. Qing Yu is my friend, so it's only natural for me to do so, said Yi Zichen. Then if you don't mind, then just call me Uncle Qing, said Qing Hui. Uncle Qing. Yi Zichen nodded. The way I see it, I feel like there's something wrong with this west gate, said Qing Hui after a moment's hesitation. Qing Hui is right. I feel the same way, said Han Qing. Chicano nodded as well, then looked towards the west gate with a solemn gaze. Why do you say that? Yi Zichen also felt that this place was a bit strange, but he didn't know what was strange about it. They're too lax. Qing Hui looked at the guards outside. Qing Hui looked at the guards outside and said, they aren't exactly cautious by nature, but they definitely wouldn't be drinking and having fun at such an important time, said Qing Hui. Alcohol, I didn't expect the second universe to have alcohol as well. It seems like humans really do like alcohol. At first, Yi Zichen was wondering why those people were swaying around. So it was because they were drunk. In short, they're acting too deliberately, Han Qing explained. Look carefully, whether it's where they're standing or the way they're walking. They're actually avoiding the formation masters on purpose. In fact, they are deliberately avoiding those array masters, giving us the illusion that we can deal with them as soon as we go. That's right. Yi Zichen nodded. The guard were indeed ridiculously far from the formation masters. They weren't like this even when they were attacking the east gate. But this is actually a trap, added Chicano. Chicano chimed in. Don't be fooled by the fact that these people seem to be standing very far away. In fact, if we get close to the array master, they can instantly shrink and trap us inside. When that happens, we'll be surrounded by them, and there's no way for us to escape. Also, I noticed the number of guards. Chicano rubbed his chin. Chicano stroked his chin and said, whether it's the east gate or the south gate. The number of guards is a standard army of 1,000. However, the number of people at the west gate doesn't even reach 300. That's true. Han Qing raised his eyebrows. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have noticed it. Yi Zichen couldn't help but think back. The number of people there was indeed a lot less. It's a trap, Qing Hui said. The people here are waiting for us to go over. Then they'll catch us all in one fell swoop. Everything we see here is what they want us to see, but who knows how many people are hiding around, waiting for us to fall into their trap. It's very possible that when we go out, we'll be surrounded by over 10,000 people. It can't be. Exen Jingnan was shocked, while everyone else's expression turned cold. Both Chicano and Han Qing nodded. What Qing Hui said was what the two of them wanted to say as well. The three strongest and most knowledgeable people made the same judgment, and Yi Zichen was willing to believe them. What's more, Yi Zichen felt that something was wrong from the start. If that's the case, then what should we do? Winnie bit her lips in confusion. Are we going somewhere else? Chicano shook his head. It was time for Yi Zichen to make a decision. No matter how they analyzed it, they were subordinates. Advance or retreat? He had to make the decision. Chapter 2256. The decision was in Yi Zichen's hands. Making a decision at that moment was definitely a burden for anyone. Han Qing, Qing Hui, Chicano. They had already stated clearly that there was definitely a large amount of soldiers lying in ambush at the west gate. It would be fine if they got ambushed, but if they were truly surrounded and fought to the death, the lives of nearly 100 people depended on a single thought of his. Ding! Just as Yi Zichen was hesitating, Suhu suddenly sent a message. In the future, I have something to tell you. Yi Zichen couldn't help but frown when he saw the message. You can't be telling me to retreat, right? Will you retreat if I tell you to? Suhu immediately sent a message over. I just received news from a few villagers that your people in the village seem to have had their internet blocked, so they can't communicate with outsiders. What? Yi Zichen was shocked. Speak more clearly. What did I say? Suhu let out a long sigh. I don't really understand what he meant. That villager didn't seem to understand either. He just said that your internet was cut off and that you can't return to your original world. That's roughly what it meant. I'll inform you after I find out. I hope it'll be useful. Too useful, Yi Zichen replied with a frown. This piece of information is extremely important. Contact me as soon as possible if you have any other information. All right. Yi Zichen turned to Bei Li after the message ended. Help me contact Shea. I'm already in contact, Bailey replied. It's just a bit weird. We haven't sent any messages. I feel like this is a blocked area. Starting from here? Yi Zichen couldn't help but frown, then looked towards Han Qing and company Wait for me here. I'll be back very soon. With that, Yi Zichen dashed off into the distance, while Bailey did not stop sending messages to Shea. A good half an hour later, Yi Zichen didn't know how long he ran for, but Bailey, who stood on his shoulder, suddenly shouted, "It's done." Before he could finish his sentence, a bunch of question marks appeared in Shea's message box. What? Are you crazy? Why did you suddenly send so many messages? Shea, who was on a mission far away in the universe, couldn't help but facepalm when she saw the hundreds of messages in front of her. She was really puzzled as to why so many messages were sent. He didn't know that he was on a mission, so sending a message like this would affect her greatly. Even though she could actually block out the virtual network, but she was rather mindful that Yi Zichen suddenly needed her for something, so she could only stay connected to the virtual network. Sorry, Yi Zichen smiled wryly. It's not that I sent a lot of messages, it's just that I couldn't send any. When I left the signal blocked area, all the messages were sent. Signal blocking zone. Shea couldn't help but frown as she stood in the void. The Virtual World Corporation's virtual network covers the entire universe. There's no such thing as a blocked zone. There are in the second universe. Yi Zichen replied, Impossible. If the virtual network doesn't cover Universe 2, you won't be able to go to Universe 2. The people of Universe 1 went to Universe 2. Through the transmission of virtual consciousness, it condensed a real consciousness in the second universe. In other words, the people of Universe 1 used the Virtual World Corporation's virtual network as a medium to head to Universe 2. If they really wanted to head there with their real bodies, they would have to spend countless years, since it was impossible for them to instantly travel back and forth. Every map that humans in Universe 1 could head to, everything they could see, they were all covered by the Virtual World Corporation's virtual network. As for the places that weren't covered, they couldn't go at all. Since they were in the consciousness network, how were they supposed to head there when the virtual network didn't cover them? But in reality, my network is blocked. No matter how certain Shea's answer was, Yi Zichen had just personally experienced the situation of the signal blocked zone. It's not just mine. All of the players in the novice village who are in that area have their signals blocked. They can't send any messages, and they can't receive any messages from the outside world. How is that possible? Shea was shocked. If there really was a problem with the novice village's network, then the people inside should have all left the virtual network and returned to the real world. However, the possibility of that happening was too small. The Virtual World Corporation, from a headquarters to the various branches, every universe country, every solar system and planet in the universe country had a Virtual World Corporation. All of them had technicians in charge of network maintenance and repair. Shea had gone to the Second World's game development department before. The people there were all core technicians, so the possibility of something like that happening was practically zero. Wait, you kept on talking about blocking the network? Suddenly, Shea noticed the words that Yi Zichen mentioned several times. Yes, blocking the network. Yi Zichen nodded. Asan, ask the Virtual World Corporation's technology department if there are any problems with our network or if there are any network fluctuations, Shea said to the young man beside him. Yes, Your Highness. Please wait a moment. Also, ask if there is any reply from the people I sent to check on the situation of the Milky Way's novice village in Universe 2. Yes. The young man remained silent for less than 5 seconds. There are no problems, Your Highness. There are no problems? Shea frowned, then clicked open Yi Zichen's message. I just got someone to check. There are no problems. Do you trust me or them? Yi Zichen asked. Of course I trust you. Shea replied without any hesitation. Then what I say next might be harmful. Listen to me. Of course, this is all just my guess. Yi Zichen hesitated for a moment. I feel like something went wrong within the Virtual World Corporation. It's very possible that someone defected to the second universe. As for the specifics, it's not convenient for me to tell you right now, because we might both be eavesdropping. That's why I want you to do something. I understand. I'll destroy the chat. In practically an instant, Shea understood what Yi Zichen was trying to say. She immediately deleted the message and looked ahead solemnly. Prepare for a dark universe jump. Your Highness, The coordinates we're going to don't have a dark universe jump point. I want to return to the Virtual World Corporation's headquarters. Then our mission. Cancel, Shea said. Return to the Virtual World Corporation immediately. I'll take responsibility for everything that happens. Chapter 2257. From Yi Zichen's message. Although his message did not state it clearly, it revealed a very serious problem. Someone within the Virtual World Corporation was causing trouble. She believed everything Yi Zichen said unconditionally. Even though she was now the Royal Highness of the Virtual World Group, she still did not have any sense of belonging to this place. Wunli was very good to her, but in her heart, she still trusted the Master of the Galaxy more, even if she was usually not that polite to the Master of the Galaxy. The Master of the Galaxy had chosen Yi Zichen. He also belonged to the Milky Way. They were the real family. She'd returned to the Virtual World Corporation not only for Yi Zichen, but also for the Virtual World Corporation. The fusion of the second universe was a matter that had to be signed. This was an extremely large project. If this troublemaker remained in the corporation, it would be a hidden danger to the Virtual World Corporation. She had to return to the group as soon as possible. Investigate everything clearly. Yi Zichen slowly exited the virtual world when he saw Shea's message. Shea would handle the group. However, he might not have the time to wait for Shea's conclusion. During this time, he tried to send a message to Han Qing and the others. They were able to receive Yi Zichen's message even though they were in the blocked area. Anyone from the second universe would have no problems. Only the humans of the first universe were shielded. This confirmed Yi Zichen's thoughts even more. It was definitely a problem within the virtual world. Someone was causing trouble. If he thought about it in a bad way, someone might have betrayed the first universe. This was a very serious problem. The news of the existence of the second universe had only been exposed for about half a month, and such problems had already begun to appear. Could this be a sign that there would be more people doing this in the future? The humans who betrayed the first universe. To the humans' betrayal and defection to this new universe. This kind of phenomenon must be nipped in the bud, otherwise the consequences in the future would be unimaginable. Think about it in the simplest way. There were many drawbacks to the fusion of universes, the most important of which was the conflict that would erupt after the fusion, even though both of them were humans. At the end of the day, these two parties did not belong to the same universe, so it was impossible for them to be of the same breadth and branch when facing a foreign enemy. An internal conflict broke out within the universe's human race. Currently, the supreme beings of the human race could use their powerful martial strength to suppress it, but sometimes this phenomenon was like a spring. The more they tried to suppress it, the stronger the reaction would be. When the humans of the second universe could no longer endure the outbreak, a fierce battle would break out between the first and second universes. At this time, those guys hiding in the dark suddenly jumped out and stabbed the first universe's humans at the most critical time. It would be a fatal blow. To be more serious, it wasn't impossible for all the humans in the first universe to disintegrate. Or perhaps, after the fusion, both sides lived in peace. This was because not all humans in the universe were war criminals. They would feel uncomfortable if they didn't start a war. Those who want to live a stable life. For example, Qing Hui, who Yi Zichen was now acquainted with, held no enmity towards the first universe. But if this kind of peaceful life was deliberately instigated by some people, causing war to break out, the ones who will be hurt are the innocent and good. Ding, sir, when can you come back? There's a problem at the West Gate. Han Qing sent a message. Before Yi Zichen could reply, Su sent a message as well. After reading their conversation, Yi Zichen's gaze instantly darkened. He frowned and clenched his fists, then hurried back to the West Gate. Regardless of whether it was the natives of the second universe or the humans of the first universe, this day was like the end of the world for this small village in the Milky Way galaxy. The once simple and elegant village. Everything was covered in crimson red. The viscous blood seemed to have draped a layer of gauze over the village. Blood dripped everywhere, making it seem like hell on earth. No, it was no longer usable. It was like hell on earth. The entire village was shrouded in despair and fear. Just as Tian Hai and company had expected, the morale of the humans of the first universe plummeted after countless people died. The suppression of the second universe's natives. A large number of their compatriots and friends died in front of them. It caused them to lose their will to fight. Someone threw down the weapon in his hand and shouted at the top of his lungs, as if he was lamenting the unfairness of God, cursing someone, or whispering to the sky, wanting to express his reluctance to leave to this strange world. Others crazily sent messages on the virtual network. They wanted to explain everything clearly. Others were still unwilling to give up. Most of them had their own stubbornness. They knew that there were still people waiting for them to return safely. They had to survive. If they wanted to live, then they had to hold the weapons in their hands and fight. They had a chance to turn things around before death truly arrived. All of this was seen by Mu Yi, who sat on the roof of the building. Of course, he didn't care much about any of this. He cared more about the location of the West Gate. At this time, several hours had passed since the East Gate Array Master was killed. According to the time, Yi Zichen and company should have already reached the West Gate. Up until now, there had been no battles at the West Gate. Are you sure they'll go to the West Gate? He squinted his eyes and muttered to the air. Not long later, a famous young man appeared beside him. The young man had peach blossom eyes, curly hair, and wore cheap beginner equipment. He was only at the first level of the domain realm. He was a player from the first universe, and, from the looks of it, he didn't belong to the first tier. Definitely. The young man's eyes were filled with confidence as he silently looked at the West Gate. Trust me. Then why hasn't he made a move yet? I already told him to do something very sloppy. Mu Yi frowned. I don't think I told you to do that, the young man shrugged. If I said that it was because of your unnecessary actions that those guys didn't make a move, would you believe me? Me? Unnecessary actions. All of a sudden, Mu Yi frowned and grabbed the young man's collar with his right hand. What do you mean? I did unnecessary actions. Put down your rough hand if you still want me to plan for you, the young man said plainly. Mu Yi snorted coldly, then let go. Then what do you think we should do now? I naturally have my plans, the young man squinted his eyes. Do you remember those people I told you to place at the West Gate? Of course. Lord Fire's target is inside, but you didn't tell me to snatch it. You still haven't told me what you're planning. Mu Yi roared. I'm telling you, that person is Lord Fire's. Suddenly, Mu Yi's expression turned furious once again. You, say, did you intentionally let her go? Chapter 2258. He held the young man's clothes tightly. This time, the young man did not say anything. He just looked at Mu Yi's hands. Mu Yi frowned and released his hands. You really know how to think. The young man tidied up his clothes and shook his head. Do you really think that I would use such a stupid method if I really wanted to help them get out of trouble? Putting myself in danger in exchange for the safety of others? That's stupid. Tell me then. What do you mean? Mu Yi clenched his fists. When Tian Hai and the others were retreating towards the West Gate, Tian Hai noticed them immediately. He wanted to send people to surround and capture Bai Se. As long as he could get her, Master Hua would be satisfied. They did not have many people. There were only about 20,000 of them, and they were all at the second stage of the domain realm. He only needed to send 3,000 people. He would be able to get rid of all of them effortlessly. However, his idea was rejected by the young man next to him. Since you've handed all the decision-making power for this purge plan to me, then you should trust my judgment. The young man smiled slowly. The purge plan was Master Hua's decision. Yi was the one who carried it out. Su had said that Yi was a simple-minded person. He was suitable to be a general who charged and broke through the enemy lines, but he was definitely not suitable to be a commander. Just when he was at his wit's end, he met the young man in front of him. It was also this young man who had come up with the plan and arranged such a big operation. Based on the current situation, everything was going according to the young man's plan. The West Gate would be wiped out immediately. The formation masters at the East Gate would be heavily injured and the invaders would gradually give up. If everything had not gone according to the young man's plan, would have killed him the moment he rejected his proposal to capture Bai Se. You must know that that woman is very important. He suppressed the anger in his heart and clenched his fists. I've already disappointed Masterful once. I can't let him down again. If I lose her this time, I'll die as an apology. I won't let you go before that happens. He threatened him fiercely. He had 3 chances to capture Bai Se. The first time was when Tian Hai and the others left. At that time, Bai Se was accompanied by the Flame Rat, Meng Luo, and some people from the Star Cloud Union. There were less than 2,000 of them, so it would be easy to deal with them. The second time was when Tian Hai and the others had returned. At that time, they had been a little lax. If he had launched a surprise attack then, he would have definitely taken white for himself. Also, when they passed through the Middle District and retreated towards the West Gate, he was furious that the young man had stopped him 3 times. He was also worried that something might happen to Bai Se. The young man shrugged and nodded. He didn't pay much attention to it. Good. I understand your determination. Lord Mui, please trust me. My decision will not disappoint you. My lord, you're back. Yi Zichen hurried back and looked solemnly at the West Gate. At the West Gate, a large number of players could be seen gathering there. Among these people, Yi Zichen saw the Flame Rat and Meng Luo. These people were all at the entrance of the West Gate. It seemed like they wanted to break out of the encirclement, but were trapped by the array formation outside. On their side, there were still many natives chasing after them. The number of casualties was particularly high, only about 3,000 people. My lord, should we make a move? Han Qing asked. He had seen the Flame Rat and Meng Luo before, so he knew that they were Yi Zichen's good friends. The reason Yi Zichen came here was mainly to save them. He was also the one who immediately sent a message to Yi Zichen when he noticed them. How could there be such a coincidence? Yi Zichen frowned as he looked forward. He never would have thought that he would see Meng Luo and the Flame Rat at the West Gate. Did they come here by accident? Or did Mui do it on purpose? There was an ambush in front of them. If they charged out now, they would be jumping into the enemy's trap again. He wasn't sure if they could successfully break through the West Gate's formation. If they didn't, they might not be able to break through the ambush. Are they trying to lure the enemy in? Yi Zichen frowned. At the West Gate, the natives were getting closer and closer to the Flame Rat and company. The guards outside were still enjoying themselves and had no intention of attacking at all. Actually, it was already very obvious their merrymaking was an act, and they had orders to keep it that way no matter what happened. Otherwise, if someone tried to kill their way to the door, the guards would probably lend a hand. What's more, upon closer inspection, there weren't many natives inside. They didn't have any intention of killing the Flame Rat and company with lightning speed. They just occasionally killed a few, slowly reducing the number of people on the Flame Rat and company's side. It was an obvious trap. The question now was whether to jump or not. If they didn't, then the Flame Rat, Meng Luo, and company would all die inside. Jump, then it would be a huge gamble. You have to at least tell me why you let them go to the West Gate. Mui frowned. Of course it's to be bait, the youth laughed. Didn't you always want to wash away your shame? But we can't always wait for them. You saw it yourself. They're much more patient than we thought. Bait? Mui frowned. Yes, I let them go to the West Gate because I want them to fish out all the people hiding outside the West Gate. The youth smiled confidently. Tianhai's group had already gone to the West Gate for some time. According to the youth's plan, he had left some natives behind along the way to hunt them down or obstruct them. They only had 10,000 people, so they should still be able to keep around 3,000. Aren't you contradicting yourself? Mui frowned. Didn't you say earlier that the kid in the future is vigilant? If that's the case, how could he have been baited out by you? Vigilance is just vigilance. Sometimes, even when people know that there's an abyss ahead, they will still jump down without a care for their own safety. Do you know why? The youth said. Why? Mui didn't understand. Because of stupidity. Soon after, the young man stretched his shoulders lazily and looked at the West Gate. It's about time. He had set up a trap, one that anyone with a brain could tell was a trap. That was exactly what he wanted to do, because he wanted to prove one thing, stupidity. Just as the young man's voice fell, boom. Suddenly, a loud noise came from the West Gate. The youth's face instantly curled up. Look, it's here. Chapter 2259. The West Gate of the village was ablaze. A few minutes earlier, even though Yi Zichen knew that there was an ambush, he still charged out without hesitation. He had no other choice. He could only watch as his friend were trapped, yet he did nothing. The invisibility scrolls allowed them to hide very well. They had made plenty of careful preparations before the assault and dealt with their enemies with lightning speed. Even so, they were still in a difficult situation. Everything was as they had expected. Everything at the west gate was a trap. Both the formation masters and the guards were pretending to be lazy. The moment Yi Zichen and company attacked, the mages all reacted accordingly. This time, the success rate of breaking out was less than 30%. Everyone who was prepared to attack. When their weapons landed on the array master's vital points, a layer of protective barrier appeared around these array masters. The barrier was pure blue, just like the magic shield of a mage. It protected the formation masters like an egg. They failed in one attack. Yi Zichen and company immediately used their scrolls. This was something they had discussed before coming, because they knew that the natives would be prepared. They just didn't expect them to be prepared to this extent. The moment they turned invisible, at least 500 natives charged out from the outside. They surrounded them in a ring and slowly gathered towards them. There were no gaps in between. It was impossible for them to even escape during the chaos. The ones who could leave, only Han Qing and Chicano were of the star rank and had the ability to fly in the air. Stay calm, Yi Zichen said to the surrounding people. They definitely couldn't panic. If they did, they would be defeated even faster. No matter how dangerous it was, at the very least, they were still invisible. If the natives weren't of the star level, they would be able to accurately locate them. All they had to do was not act rashly and change their surroundings. All they had to do was wait. Unfortunately, the natives were much smarter than they thought. Sire, archers! Han Qing's face darkened. Behind the 500 armed bodyguards, there were actually archers carrying bows and arrows. The archers drew their bows high. They weren't here to fight. Since Yi Zichen and company were hiding, they would use their bows and arrows to probe. Either they moved, or they were shot full of holes. F*CK. Now, Yi Zichen's expression instantly froze. He waved his right hand, and flames shot out of his palm. The flames condensed in the void, turning into a sea of flames. The archers among the natives were all engulfed by the raging flames, but unexpectedly, they all took out a blue gem from their bosoms unhurriedly. I held the jewel in my hand, and a halo of water surrounded them. No matter how fiercely the flames surged, they couldn't do anything to them. Water, elemental, crystal mine. Han Qing was shocked. Elemental, crystal mine? Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and looked at the oars in the archer's hands. Han Qing's face was gloomy as he looked at the patches of water. Sir, I'm afraid your fire won't have any effect on them. Even without Han Qing's explanation, Yi Zichen could clearly see that after the water halos appeared, much of the fire he'd released seemed to have been extinguished. Yi Zichen just couldn't understand. How could an elemental crystal mine release such power? What's so special about their water element crystal mine? Their ores are refined. Han Qing let out a deep sigh. The reason why crystal ores are precious is because they can release elemental energy after being refined. Fire elemental crystal ores become elemental crystals after being refined, which can release very strong explosive fire energy. Water elemental crystal ores can release water elements after being extracted, which can be used for attack, healing, and defense. What they have isn't even a crystal, it's just a half-extracted crystal ore. Even so, it can still release a certain amount of elemental energy. Also, please don't blame this subordinate for offending you. Your cultivation level is truly too low. Level 2 domain. It could be said to be at the level of being trampled upon by anyone in the entire village. Yi Zichen understood that very well. Even though he had elemental fire, the flames of a level 2 domain were of no threat to those people who had a level 5 domain and had half-extracted water elemental crystal ores. Yi Zichen watched as the archers continued to draw their bows. There's nothing I can do. After a few seconds of silence, Yi Zichen deactivated his invisibility and unsheathed the sword on his back. Future. At that moment, The flame rats who were trapped in the village also saw Yi Zichen, who was outside the village. I knew the Almighty would save us in the future. Meng Luo's eyes shone with hope. Then, she slapped the entrance of the village hard. They were already standing at the exit, but the exit was still surrounded by the array formation. They had no way of breaking out. Guru, great God! Meng Luo clapped her hands and shouted towards the outside. But no matter how hard she clapped, Yi Zichen did not respond. It wasn't that Yi Zichen didn't want to, it was that he couldn't hear them at all. Moreover, he didn't have the time to respond. There were 500 guards and more than 200 archers in front of him. Guru, save us. Stop shouting. He can't even take care of himself right now. Jingling's face darkened as she looked at the situation outside. Look at him. His situation isn't any better than ours. There are hundreds of guards outside. If things are really bad, his situation might be even worse. It's such a simple ambush. It's impossible for the future Almighty not to see through it. Returning Windblade narrowed his eyes and frowned. From the situation outside, it's indeed an ambush. It should be us. Tianhai hesitated for a moment, then looked in front of them with bright eyes. There were less than 300 guards around them. Thinking back to their journey here, they clearly had the strength to completely annihilate their side, but they didn't do so. Even when they reached the exit, they still didn't attack. They would occasionally kill a few people to reduce their numbers, but they wouldn't completely annihilate them. At the start, Tianhai felt that they were enjoying being toyed with, because it was impossible for them to be afraid. But now, he finally understood that they were actually using the lives of their own people to force Yi Zichen to launch a sneak attack. The future Almighty did it for us. Steelcase clenched his teeth. His frustration caused him to let out a muffled groan. The Almighty will be fine. The flame rat's eyes were filled with determination. All of a sudden, the flame rat's eyes were filled with determination. It gripped its sword tightly and stared at the natives in front of it without even looking back. Using us as bait was their biggest mistake, the flame rat laughed, while his eyes were filled with mockery. They're dead for sure. Chapter 2260. No one knew it better than the flame rat. He knew what it meant when Yi Zichen removed the sword from his back. The scene from several days ago was still vivid in the flame rat's mind. One man, one sword. He killed all of the Qin clan's invaders. What are you talking about? Blue Shield 0713 couldn't help but exclaim. I'm not cursing the future, but there are so many people outside. If he survives, you don't believe the future God? The flame rat frowned. It's not that I don't believe him. It's that Blue Shield 0713 sighed inexplicably and said no more. The future had come for them. Yi Zichen was currently in a predicament, yet he said he had no hope of surviving. It felt like he was mocking him, as if it had nothing to do with him. What he said was purely a judgment of reason and experience. There were over 500 natives outside. Yi Zichen was alone. Of course, there were many others who hadn't appeared yet. Blue Shield 0713 believed that Yi Zichen wouldn't have come alone. Even if he brought his subordinates, how many could there be? There were probably less than 100 of them. If the archers behind him fired a volley, Yi Zichen would be in grave danger. You'll regret doubting the future God. The flame rat continued to stare at the natives in front of him. The great God has already come to take us out. We can't disappoint him. Let's kill our way out. With that, the flame rat led the charge. The remaining few thousand people seemed to have been injected with adrenaline. They gripped their weapons and roared as they charged forward. Tianhai glanced silently at Yi Zichen, then gripped his weapon as well. Kill. Several meters away. Two different worlds. One side was filled with clamor and slaughter, while the other side was completely silent and tranquil. There was only the sound of the wind. Yi Zichen looked down at the natives in front of him. When did he use the golden sword you spoke of? Not far away, Mu Yi and his brainiac youth looked at Yi Zichen. The youth chuckled. Not long ago, when he mentioned Yi Zichen, Mu Yi had mentioned his golden sword. This was in order to complete the purge plan. In order to make Mu Yi understand everything more directly, he had even exaggerated the abilities of Yi Zichen's golden sword. Who knows? Mu Yi frowned. There was something wrong with that question. The golden sword was in Yi Zichen's hands. He could use it whenever he wanted. If he knew, he would definitely kill Yi Zichen before he used it. I didn't ask you. I was talking to myself. The young man glanced at him, his gaze seemingly mocking Mu Yi's wishful thinking. Then, he tilted his head and looked at the west of the village. Hurry up and use it. I've been waiting for that moment. The young man narrowed his eyes. Awakening a sword-type martial soul at the star rank has great research value. Maybe it can directly change the current situation of mankind. What are you mumbling about? He couldn't hear what the young man was muttering to himself. Haha, nothing. The young man laughed. I just want to see if his golden sword is really as scary as you said. If he makes a move as soon as possible, I'll be able to respond as soon as possible. What do you mean? Are you saying that you didn't come up with a plan to deal with this situation? He roared. He'd mentioned the golden sword in order to get the young man ready. But now, he was saying that he didn't have a plan at all, and that he needed to wait for Yi Zichen to use it first. Not to mention whether or not they had time to prepare. Wouldn't his several hundred subordinates all die? I didn't even see it. How am I supposed to deal with it? The young man shrugged. Don't treat me like a god. If I said I had a plan, that would be irresponsible. You're really interesting. I don't know if you're pretending or you really don't understand. Mui laughed. He didn't know why, but he felt like this young man couldn't be trusted. Yet, he relied on him and his brain. Of course, once the purge was over, Yi Zichen and Bai Se would be handed over to Lord Fire, and the young man would lose his value. Then he could kill him. He wouldn't keep someone he couldn't control by his side. His golden sword won't disappoint you, said Mui. Mui said, last time, I was defeated by his golden sword. I remember that sword was his weapon, not the one in his hand. Oh, is that so? The young man pretended to be disappointed, but he knew full well. Yi Zichen's golden sword wasn't a weapon, it was a martial soul. At most, it was infused into the weapon, giving it the characteristics of a martial soul. Oh yeah, you can send people to capture Bai Se. And those guys, they have no value anymore, said the young man. You really are ruthless. You're clearly from the same place. Mui laughed mockingly. You really are a despicable person. I've never thought of myself as a gentleman. The young man shrugged nonchalantly. He didn't take Muyi's words to heart at all. What's more, I've never treated them as my compatriots. In my eyes, they're no different from livestock. Then what about working with you? Mui laughed. He really didn't like the young man in front of him, or rather, he hated wise men with brains. He just wanted to make himself look smug, as if he had everything planned out, and fawn over him. Only then could he think with a clear conscience. Fists were the true strength. Those people who claimed to be talented, but in the end, they still had to submit to his strength. Even Mui couldn't have imagined this. Same, the young man answered without any hesitation. The moment he said that, Muyi's expression turned ugly. Same, wasn't he just livestock? He never expected the young man to answer like that, nor did he expect him to dare. The impulse in his heart made him want to crush the young man's head. In the end, he endured it. I admire your honesty, Mui grinned. Is that so? The young man shrugged. Mui suppressed his anger, clenched his fists, and called his subordinates over. After explaining everything, he clenched his teeth. He couldn't kill this guy yet. At least, he had the right to live before he was purged. Why hasn't he taken out his golden sword yet? I'm getting impatient. The young man beat his chest and stamped his feet, as if he was in a hurry to see Zichen's golden sword. Since there's still time, I'll go ahead and take a look. That way, I can see it more clearly. Do you want to come? The young man tilted his head. Mui smiled. Of course. He gestured. The young man ignored him and walked forward with his hands behind his back. I'll let you be happy for a while. Mui narrowed his eyes and stared at the young man's back like a venomous snake. Once everything is over, I'll let you experience what it's like to be a livestock. Chapter 2261. A gentle breeze blew past. This kind of warm autumn night breeze was so out of place in the current situation. 500 guards, 200 archers, 200 formation masters, over 1,000 natives. Such a large number was something that even 10,000 humans in the first universe wouldn't dare to fight against. Yet, Yi Zichen stood silently in front of them. There wasn't much light in his eyes. He held the sword in his hand and took in all the positions of the several hundred people. Sire, Han Qing was quite shocked by Yi Zichen's sudden appearance. Even he had to be careful when he saw such a large number of natives. More importantly, did Sire not see the archers in front of him? His appearance made him the target of everyone. A single volley from them would turn him into a sieve. Take a good look at the positions of those formation masters. Yi Zichen found Han Qing in his friend list and sent him a message. Don't speak. They can't see you, so don't move. If anything happens, so many eyes will definitely catch it. What you need to do is to keep an eye on those formation masters. The spirit stone on Han Qing's waist flashed. He looked at Yi Zichen's message and replied telepathically. Sire, what are you going to do? Leave the defensive barriers of the archers and formation masters to me. What you need to do is take care of them the moment the barriers shatter. Before Han Qing could understand the meaning of those words, he saw Yi Zichen walk forward with his sword in hand. As he walked forward, the sword in his hand trembled intensely, and the blade would occasionally let out a low hum. Esteemed master, what is the future sire going to do? Han Qing looked at Xi and Zhongnan and asked. Han Qing shook his head. He actually didn't know what Yi Zichen was going to do. However, he just said that he was going to leave the defensive barriers of the archers and formation masters to him. What was he going to do? Ignoring the fact that Han Qing was only at the 2nd level of domain, the natives were all above the 5th level. These several hundred people were all in different positions. If he made a move, it would be like pulling a hair on one part and affecting the rest. If he didn't instantly kill all of the archers, they would all shoot at once. If he didn't shatter all of the barriers, the formation masters would definitely be alerted and use more advanced methods to protect their own lives. Han Qing let out a sigh, then told everyone what he and Yi Zichen had just said. The Lord wants us to keep an eye on the formation master. Xi and Zhongnan was puzzled. He looked at the defensive barriers that surrounded the array masters and said, keep an eye on them. These guys all have turtle shells on their bodies. So what if you keep an eye on them? Moreover, if we act rashly now, those archers will definitely shoot in unison. Master, it's not that I'm afraid of death. Han Qing said. His lordship said that he will take care of these defensive barriers, and those archers will be handed over to him. Xi and Zhongnan was shocked and said, Han Qing raised his hand and patted his head, saying, what a just follow Lord's arrangements. At the west gate of the village, everyone who'd come with Yi Zichen focused their gazes on the surrounding formation masters. They could not use the energy of the universe. This would cause the other party to spy on them and alert them. Qing Hui had already unsheathed her long sword, and a dagger had appeared in Chicano's hand. Xi and Zhongnan scratched his head when he saw the senior's expressions. He could only swallow the words that were on the tip of his tongue as he thought about how Yi Zichen was going to defeat the enemy. You're the future, right? Just as Yi Zichen slowly walked forward, the leader of the guards at the west gate spoke up. What are you doing? Do you want to fight us? I'll tell you the truth. This isn't all of our people. There are at least 500 people around. Don't try anything funny. I know there are several tens of people hidden behind you, but if you want to use yourself as bait for a surprise attack, then you better give up on that idea. The leader of the guards stared at Yi Zichen with bright eyes and paid more attention to the people behind him. When he received the information, he already knew that there were 2-star system level experts among the hidden people, and one of them was Han Qing. Everyone in the surrounding villages knew of Han Qing's reputation. He didn't feel like he would be completely wiped out if he let down his guard. At the very least, he would suffer heavy losses. Put down the weapons in your hands. As long as you come with us, we might even let your people go, said the leader of the guards. When did you guys become so merciful? Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and stopped his slow walk. He silently looked at the leader of the guards with a cold gaze. Isn't your plan to purge us all? Purge is for you despicable invaders. It doesn't include the humans of our world, said the leader of the guards. Invaders. Yi Zichen's lips suddenly curved into a smile. I like how you call us. It's so much more pleasing to the ear than divine citizens. Put down the weapons in your hands. The leader of the guards didn't want to say anything else. He felt like Yizichin's state was very strange, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. He could only urge Yizichin to surrender as soon as possible to avoid any unforeseen circumstances. Don't resist pointlessly. A wise man submits to circumstances. I believe you all know this, because this is a proverb from your world. Yizichin remained silent and looked towards the archers. The archers sensed his gaze and subconsciously drew their bowstrings. Stop looking around. There's no way you'll be able to leave alive. I know, there's an ambush, Yizichin smiled. Didn't you just say that there are more than 500 enemies lying in ambush outside? Since that's the case, you didn't tell the truth, did you? Yizichin squinted his eyes and looked at the leader of the guards. 500 is too conservative. There are at least 700 people lying in ambush around us. The leader of the guards was so shocked that he couldn't speak. He did intentionally hide some of the information, but how did Yizichin know? He subconsciously looked towards the positions of the enemies lying in ambush. Those guys were hiding at least several hundred meters away, and there were no gaps in their concealment. An explosion technique. Stop trying to act smart, said the leader of the guards. You underestimate the first universe, or rather you guys, including Mu, E, and that Lord Fire. All of a sudden, a pocket-sized golden longsword appeared between Yizichin's eyebrows. The longsword was only the size of a palm, but in less than half a breath's time, it grew to a meter long and radiated an ancient aura. It didn't take long for the golden sword to merge with Yizichin's blade. Blinding golden light shone from the golden sword as Yizichin raised it high above his head. It's over. Chapter 2262. Fire. The guard leader gave the order without any hesitation the moment Yizichin finished speaking. Yizichin looked at him coldly. There was no warmth in his eyes at all. Sword shakes the universe. Whoosh! Countless afterimages of golden swords were released, and in the blink of an eye, the swords all landed on the archers and formation masters. Wow! Is this the power of his martial soul? The eyes of the young man in the village were filled with excitement as he stared at the golden swords that split up outside the village. The swords fell down like a storm. The swords pierced through the necks of the archers and landed on the defensive barrier of the formation masters. The formation masters who had defensive measures released the energy of the universe to maintain their barrier. However, the archers without any defensive measures were not as lucky. A total of 200 archers fell onto the ground. They all fell to the ground in an orderly manner. None of them survived. Ding! Congratulations, you have leveled up to the 3rd level of domain. Killing natives can increase one's strength? Yizichin couldn't help but be shocked when he saw the in-game system notification. Killing people in the outside world would increase one's evil deeds, not to mention increasing one's cultivation. There were evil deeds in killing people. It wasn't as obvious as the evil deeds in the game, but it did affect the killer to a certain extent. For example, in terms of strength, the universe would not be willing to accept people with too many sins. The universe's abilities would not be compatible with them, so it would be very difficult for them to increase their strength. Furthermore, they would be plagued by the sins of killing, which would cause their luck to be very bad in the future. However, this place could increase one's strength. Since that was the case, then what was there to hesitate about? Although this method of obtaining strength was rather cruel, Yizichin liked it. Killing people who were already hostile towards him. What was there to worry about? Fall! Yizichin roared angrily. The swords in the sky fell even more fiercely, causing countless explosions to turn the surrounding trees and boulders into smithereens. A thick layer of dust lingered in the surroundings, causing people to be unable to open their eyes. F***CK. Xian Zhengnan, who was at the west gate of the village, was completely shocked. Not only him, but Hui Fengran and company, who were standing at the gate, couldn't help but open their mouths wide, unable to say anything for a long time. Wait, the future god is a dual cultivator. After a long while, Hui Fengran finally spoke up. It was no secret that Yizichin could control the fire element. No one who was with him knew that he would set up a wall of fire. To be able to become a fire controller, one would have a certain status in the universe. This was because the fire element was one of the elements that coexisted with the 5 elements of heaven and earth. Its attack power was very high, and it belonged to the category of power attackers. Who would have thought? Yi Zichen actually has a martial spirit, and more importantly, he awakened it in the second universe. From a skill he had just released, this martial soul should be one of the top-grade martial souls. Martial spirits had their own ranks. Most of the martial spirit's grades were related to the martial spirit. For example, a plant-type martial soul. A mustard-type martial soul was the lowest grade, but if it was a tree-type martial soul, it would be of a higher grade. Yi Zichen's martial soul was sword-type. Sword-type martial souls belonged to the category of tool martial souls. They were considered average among tool martial souls. They possessed offensive abilities, but they were not special. Because there were many people who had swords in their hearts, there were also many people who could condense a sword-type martial soul. In the entire universe, a sword-type martial soul was actually one of the more common martial souls that had been awakened. The returning Windblade would think that Yi Zichen's sword martial spirit was a peak-grade martial spirit. It was due to the strength of the attack he had just released. Martial spirits would also change. Some martial spirits seemed normal, but they actually contained explosive energy within. Just now, Yi Zichen's attack caused several thousand swords to fly out. The swords were like rain. Hundreds of natives were slaughtered. He did not know that Yi Zichen had already leveled up to the 3rd level of domain and still thought that he was only at the 2nd level. Even if he knew, he would still be certain of his thoughts. A 3rd level domain instantly killed hundreds of 5th level domains. If it wasn't a peak grade martial soul, then what was it? He would definitely be the first to refuse if anyone dared to say that it wasn't a peak grade martial soul. Peak grade martial soul. During that period of time, Gulu couldn't help but exclaim softly. To have this kind of strength in the future is beyond all of our imaginations. But deities, can you stop blinking out? Can we even be in a daze in our current situation? Blue Shield Family 0713 raised his hand to block the attack in front of him and shouted, "Come back to your senses. The deities will definitely save us in the future. Don't die before that." The attacks of these guys have suddenly become stronger. Steelcase dodged the attack of the Aborigines with his body technique and stabbed the other party in the chest with his gun. They were all battle-hardened experts in the outside world. Although the strength here was not the same as the outside world, and their powers had not been completely awakened, the memories of battle and the training they had in the outside world were imprinted into their bones. Most of the people that were able to last until now had relied on their movement techniques to win. Otherwise, how else would they have been able to last until now when there was no difference in equipment, martial souls, and control? They're panicking. Jingling squinted her eyes and looked at the situation outside. The meaning of our existence is bait. When we baited the future, we already lost our value, so the natives here naturally wouldn't stay and watch over us. However, they didn't expect the future to be so strong. The sudden change in the future caused these guys to fear that he would really charge in and join up with us. Naturally, they would attack even more ferociously to prevent us from leaving alive. F***CK. If this was the first universe, Laozi would kill them no matter what. Hui Fengren clenched his fist and shouted. "We will have a chance after the universes fuse," Jingling said. Jingling said, "Before that, we have to survive. If we die here, everything will be meaningless. I'm a dignified universe general. If I die here, my descendants will laugh at me." Hui Fengren shouted. F***CK. Laozi will fight out with you. As soon as he finished speaking, Hui Fengren charged forward with bloodshot eyes. He's a universe general? Blue Shield Family 0713 was stunned. Who knows? Gulu shrugged. I always thought he was at most a nebula grade. Looking at how scared he was before, he didn't look like a general. Blue Shield Family 0713 curled his lips. I'm a real general, okay? Stop bragging. I'm a marquis. Does that count? Steelcase rolled his eyes speechlessly. Who doesn't know how to brag? A nebula grade and general. If we can get out alive, I'll believe you even if you say you're overlords. I'm really a general. Blue Shield Family 0713 said. Yes, 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 General 0713. Hurry up and show your general demeanor. Don't die here. Otherwise, when your descendants ask how you died, your relatives will say that you died in the game. F***CK. I'll fight it out with you. Speaking of this, Blue Shield Family 0713 also charged forward with bloodshot eyes. Steelcase and Gulu looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They also held the weapons in their hands. Charge. Chapter 2263. The sky full of golden swords turned into a rain of swords. The golden long swords accurately landed around the archers and formation masters. The wind blew up the dust, causing the guards to be unable to see the situation clearly. Reinforcements. The guard leader had a menacing expression as he waved his sword angrily. In a split second, hundreds of guards rushed towards the array master and the archers. At the same time, the enemies that were lying in ambush also ran out to reinforce them. Under the golden swords in the sky, all life was equal. It didn't matter if you were a fighter, a formation master, or an archer. It didn't matter if you had a 90% domain or a level 5 domain. Anyone below the domain level could not shake the might of the golden swords. Countless experts among the natives were pierced by the golden swords. Their bodies were like sieves as they fell onto the ground. Fresh blood flowed out and dyed the ground red. Future God, you're too sick. Xian Jingnan's throat bubbled up as his eyes were completely shrouded in fear and shock. Level 2 domain, instantly killing hundreds of experts above the 5th level domain. Even his esteemed master couldn't do it, right? Future little friend is truly shocking. Qinghui couldn't help but reveal an expression of shock when he saw that. Qinghui couldn't help but reveal a look of surprise. He had never heard of anyone being able to do this. You all remember the positions of the formation masters, right? Han Qing maintained his calm and was not shocked by Yi Zichen's methods like the others. With his knowledge, he knew very well that it wasn't impossible to challenge someone of a higher level, but anyone who could do that would have to pay an extremely high price. The golden swords seemed to attack very fiercely. However, Han Qing could feel that the golden swords were condensed from the energy of the universe. Using any one of them would consume a huge amount of energy. Even if Yi Zichen had more cosmic energy than other people of the same level, he was still a level 3 domain. No matter how much cosmic energy he had, it was impossible for it to be as vast and inexhaustible as the ocean. Han Qing guessed that Yi Zichen definitely couldn't maintain his current state for too long. Just when would his limit be? Only Yi Zichen himself knew that he might clench his teeth and break through his limit for them, but it would definitely cause huge damage to himself. Therefore, Han Qing and the others had to deal with the array formation master as soon as possible so that the West Gate's array formation could be broken and the people inside could come out. Then, they could make other plans after the two sides met up. I'll remember it all. Xian Zhongnan opened his mouth and the others nodded silently. The positions of the 300 array masters were in their minds. Even though they could not see them clearly due to the dust, they could still accurately pinpoint their positions. All right, let's go. Xiao. As Yi Zichen's attack threw the area outside the western gate into chaos, Han Qing and the others, who were hiding, attacked. Yi Zichen raised his sword. The energy in his body was infused into the longsword. But it had to be said that the current him was in a state of exhaustion. Sword sweeping across desolation consumed too much energy. This sword technique was created when he was in the immortal, demon, and demon realms, using the Xinyuan sword as his weapon. At that time, 8 streaks of sword chi were released. After many years of research and refinement, the amount of sword chi was increased. This time, in order to deal a fatal blow to the natives, Yi Zichen went all out. The moment he released his sword chi, he pushed his firepower to the maximum. In less than 3 breaths of time, Yi Zichen already felt weak, as if all the energy in his body was about to run dry. If it weren't for his godhead controlling the flow of energy, he wouldn't have been able to do so. Furthermore, he had the 5 elements elemental spirits. Elemental power was superior to the energy of the universe, so he could use them to replenish the boundless energy of the universe. Perhaps, the instant he raised his sword, his cosmic energy sea had already been drained dry. Stay your hand. At this moment, the guard leader swung his broadsword down from the sky. The blade seemed to carry with it the power of a mountain. Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows, then held his sword horizontally above his head. Yi Zichen's grip tightened. The guard leader's blade was already close to his face. What immense strength! Yi Zichen's heart trembled. Of all the people he'd met, he'd never met anyone with such overwhelming strength. Even a great sage was far weaker than him. That's right. The reason Yi Zichen compared himself to a great sage was because of all the people he'd met in the second universe and the first universe, no one below the star level was stronger than a great sage. In truth, Yi Zichen didn't know why either. His memories of the great sage were clearly from before he'd even reached the domain level. Yet here, no one was stronger than him. Yi Zichen truly didn't understand. After all, there were plenty of martial artists in the universe who trained in physical strength. However, this wasn't the time to think about it. In the time it took for sparks to fly off a flint, Yi Zichen blocked the guard leader's attack, then kicked him. Die! The guard leader's eyes reddened. He gripped his weapon and advanced once more. Ding! This time, before a victor could be determined, Yi Zichen's weapon shattered into countless pieces. It broke again. When he saw his weapon shatter, Yi Zichen sighed, then took out another dark gold weapon from his bag. His godhead was indeed very powerful. Its only weakness was that he didn't have a suitable weapon, which allowed him to unleash his power as he pleased. Even a dark gold weapon would shatter in a few minutes, even if he didn't use any techniques and just used it to boost his strength. Aren't you afraid of the wrath of the heavens? The guard leader's eyes were filled with hatred as he watched Yi Zichen leap back and retrieve his weapon the moment his weapon shattered. In just one short minute, several hundred people died, just like that in front of him. His son was among them. He watched his son die to a golden sword with his own eyes. The wrath of the heavens. Yi Zichen looked at the guard leader, whose eyes were bloodshot. The weapon in his hand turned golden once more. How interesting. You know about the wrath of the heavens as well? Since you're so angry, could it be that I just killed your family member? I'm sorry about that, but you should have told me beforehand. I can guarantee that I'll make him die an even worse death than before. If we kill you, then we'll suffer the wrath of the heavens. You slaughtered over 10 million of our people. Didn't you think about the wrath of the heavens? Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and sneered. You're invaders. The guard leader roared angrily. Yes, we are invaders, Yi Zichen nodded. That's why what I'm doing right now is what an intruder should do. I'll let you know what a true invasion is.